We want the public to know who we are, to have trust and confidence in what we're doing to cut serious and organised crime in their neighbourhoods and at a national and international level. We'll have international reach. We're going to focus on cyber, dealing with those people, enable serious and organised crime to take place. This is a distinctively UK-wide approach, distinctively different, and very much focused on cutting serious and organised crime.
Meanwhile, more police officers in Milton Keynes will be carrying tasers from today. Before now, only firearms officers were allowed to use the devices. A baby clinic in Wolverton could be forced to close. The town's new health centre was going to home the facility when the old centre closed, but a seminar room has been included instead. Mothers in the town are unhappy they'll have to take their children to New Bradwell and Fuller's Slade.
I think this is going to be a massive effect on mums in the local area. Our town is getting bigger as the years go on. It's such an important facility that we need in the area to make sure mums get the help they need, at this very important time.
The government is being accused of failing people with eating disorders, with some patients having to wait long periods before getting treatment. While there are waiting time targets for physical health problems, mental health issues are currently excluded. Catherine Burns reports.
Patients with physical health problems have a legal right to start treatment within 18 weeks. But there's no such promise for mental health issues. The charity Beat asked 331 people who've had outpatient treatment for eating disorders how long they waited to get help.
In sport, Arsenal are top of the Premiership on goals scored after a 1-1 draw against West Brom. And in rugby, the Bedford Blues lost by 27 points to 45 against Bristol in the Championship. And the weather today will be dry and sunny, top temperatures around 20 degrees Celsius, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
Did you miss me when I... Oh, no, you can't sing him anymore. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. I do apologise to all James Whale fans. He's gone back in his Luke Goss-shaped box. Thank you, James, for filling in at short notice at various times. I thought, literally, on Tuesday and Wednesday, well, literally Wednesday more, literally no noise coming out of my mouth at all. My boys thought it was hilarious. No, go on, Dad, I talk properly. I'm talking properly. No noise coming out at all. I'm still a little bit husky in various places, and I can't do my famous falsettos anymore. So there'll be none of those. And then Thursday I woke up and I was fine. I thought, oh, OK, I'll pop back in on Friday, do a few hours, then bunk off. And by Thursday afternoon, my voice was going again. Felt fine, had a blinding headache all week, but apart from that, fine. Oh, I treated myself to a wonderful hour-long Thai massage. I had a tiny woman walking on my back. No. Felt good at the end, not that good. I had a woman walking on my back. It was amazing. I've never had that before. Anyway, lots coming up on the show today, including more tasers in Milton Keynes, fewer police investigating organised crime, and are you happy to have Splashback?
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
08459 455 555. Whenever I've had some time away, it always takes a little while to kind of get things up and running again. So bear with me. Be patient, won't you? Thank you.
Pas de chance, ou si peu. Mais pour moi, une explication vaudrait mieux. Sous aucun prétexte, je ne veux diras-tu? Tu as mis à l'index nos nuits blanches, nos matins gris-bleus. Mais pour moi, une explication vaudrait mieux.
Sans aucun prétexte, je ne veux devant toi surexposer mes yeux. Derrière un Kleenex, je saurai mieux comment te dire adieu. Comment te dire adieu. Comment te dire adieu.
It's not often we let a German song come on, but I thought this morning we'd do something special. We'd do something special. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Here's something from today. More police officers in Milton Keynes will be equipped with tasers. Thames Valley Police are increasing the number of officers trained to use the equipment capable of stunning a suspect with 50,000 volts. Well, before now, only firearms officers were allowed to use them. So what's changed? Well, Sophie Soleri has been studying this story in depth. Sophie, what exactly is happening?
In detail, earlier this year, Thames Valley Police announced that they would be doubling the amount of officers trained and issued with tasers. Until now, only firearms officers could carry tasers, but that has now been extended to include any other officer who has been specifically trained. This means that the total of officers trained to use tasers in the Thames Valley will go up from 205 to 485. The increase will see the total proportion of officers trained to use tasers go up to 11%. That's in line with the national average of 11.5%. The rollout of this proposal in Milton Keynes begins tomorrow, meaning the devices and trained officers will be able to use the equipment at any time necessary.
And what's changed from before?
As I said now, only firearms officers were allowed to carry and use tasers. Thames Valley are also one of the last police forces to relax their policy on tasers. It means all but 4 forces now allow non-firearms officers to use the devices. What this means is that the police officers who have been selected and trained to use tasers will be able to carry them and use them when appropriate. Therefore, if officers need to use tasers, they won't have to wait for firearms officers to be called. Local Policing Commander Superintendent Barry Halliday has said they are pleased that they are now in a position where they can start to use the devices, and he's sure that using them in the Milton Keynes area, they'll be able to protect the community and further prevent crime in the area also.
What's reaction been like to this news?
At the time of the announcement in January, Amnesty International's UK's arms programme editor has said that given that Thames Valley is one of the last forces across the UK to extend the use of tasers wider than its firearms officers, they are clearly aware of the severity of the consequences attached to deploy this weapon. But ahead of the rollout, local policing commissioner Superintendent Barry Halliday stressed that the use of taser devices will only be considered where it's deemed necessary and appropriate to the behaviour of the officer's encounter, and evidence suggests that the threat of using the devices is more often than not it makes people complacent and reduces the threat of harm and violence.
Sophie, thank you very much indeed. Well, we'll hear from hear the views of the Thames Valley Police Federation to hear what rank and file police officers make of that decision, and also hear again from Amnesty International about their concerns. So that starts today. Police officers in Milton Keynes, more of them will be carrying tasers. How do you feel about that? Does that make you feel safe? The permission to speak freely, thank you, I will. I'm a little uncomfortable with this, but I don't know why. I'm just used to our police officers not being armed, and tasers is arming them to a certain extent. I have no serious, strong argument as to why I feel uncomfortable with it. It's just a feeling. Can you help me work it out? 08459 455 555. Why do I feel a bit uncomfortable about police having tasers, and how do you feel about it? Let's talk about it, shall we, after Billy Joel.
Now he gives never said I was a victim of circumstance. I still belong. Don't get me wrong. And you can speak your mind, but not on my time. They will tell you you can't sleep alone in a strange place. Then they'll tell you you can't sleep with somebody else. Ah, but sooner or later you sleep in your own space. Either way, it's okay, you wake up with yourself. I don't need you to worry for me, 'cause I'm alright. I don't want you to tell me it's time to come home. I don't care what you say anymore, this is my life. Go ahead with your own life, leave me alone. I never said you had to offer me a second chance. I never said I was a victim of circumstance. I still belong. Don't get me wrong. You can speak your mind, but not on my time. I don't care what you say anymore, this is my life. Go ahead with your own life, leave me alone. Keep it to yourself, it's my life. Keep it to yourself.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. 08459 455 555 is the phone number if you want to give us a call and let me know what your views are on the police in Milton Keynes. More police, not all of them, let's not get carried away, but more police in Milton Keynes will be carrying tasers. Does that make you feel safer? Or does it concern you? It concerns me slightly, but I don't know why. I don't know why it makes me feel uncomfortable. There's something about it that, hey, it might reduce crime. That's a good thing, isn't it? Isn't it? So why do I feel so uncomfortable about it? 08459 455 555. It's 6:15 or thereabouts. It's BBC Three Counties Radio. Let's get the travel.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Cheers, Ian. Good morning. Taking a look at the cameras on the motorways, and we've got problems on the M25. Anti-clockwise, 2 lanes are closed. This is an overturned car between Enfield and Potters Bar, junctions 25 and 24. It's slow all the way back to the M11 at junction 27. They had to hold all traffic for a short time just after the Holmesdale Tunnel, but now 1 lane is open past the scene. Had a few calls on that early this morning. Thank you to everyone who's already been ringing in. If you're travelling by train, East Midlands trains have got problems further up their lines. Overrunning engineering works between Leicester and Market Harborough. This means that northbound trains at the moment are having to divert via Corby. They'll be missing out Market Harborough station and adding delays of about half an hour to your journey. Services coming down toward London and in towards St Pancras, they seem to be running okay for the time being. If you can update us, 08459 455 555. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Adam. It's 6:16. It's Monday, the 7th of October. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. The number of people getting home care for just 15 minutes has gone up, according to Leonard Cheshire Disability. More police officers in Milton Keynes will be carrying tasers from today. And a baby clinic in Wolverton could be forced to close because it's not being given space in the town's new health centre. Weather for today will be misty at first, but dry and sunny throughout the day. Coming up, the Police and Crime Commissioner for Bedfordshire, Ollie Martins, will be in the studio talking about the launch of a new way of policing serious and organised crime. 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Every weekday from 12, Nick Coffer brings you...
30 years ago, Doug Moody set up the Greenbank Music School in Luton with a philosophy that music should be fun.
It was getting other people involved, just doing everything. I'm just a person that just loves to do things.
Nick Coffer.
EOS have decided that for their September show, they'll be performing their version of the Tony Award-winning musical Rent.
525,600 minutes.
Quirkology follows the clumsy, endearing life of Rupert Quirk.
A lot of people have actually said, you know, he's just an exaggerated version of yourself.
Nick Coffer, weekdays from 12 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Someone who needs me, someone I needed so long. For once unafraid, I can go where life leads me. Somehow I know I'll be strong. For once I can touch what my heart used to dream of long before I knew. Oh, someone warm like you would make my dream come true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Once in my life, I won't let sorrow hurt me, not like it's hurt me before. For once I have something I know won't desert me. I'm not alone anymore. For once I can say, this is mine, you can't take it. Long as I know I have love, I can make it. For once in my life, I have someone who needs me. Sorrow hurt me, not like it's hurt me before. For once I have something I know won't desert me. I'm not alone anymore. For once I can say, this is mine, you can't take it. Long as I know I have love, I can make it. For once in my life, I have someone who needs me.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. If you want to give me a call, you can also send me a text, 81333. Start your text 3CR. Now, today sees the launch of a new way of policing serious and organised crime. The National Crime Agency is being compared to the FBI in America in that it will work with regional police forces as well and similar organisations abroad to specialise in organised economic and cybercrime, border policing and child protection. There'll be fewer officers in the NCA than there are in its predecessor, SOCA, but we're being told they will be more visible. Well, Ollie Martins is the Police and Crime Commissioner for Bedfordshire and joins me now. What exactly is this, Ollie?
Well, in some ways it's a bit of a rebranding exercise because, as you just said, we've had the Serious and Organised Crime Agency operating previously, and the National Crime Agency now takes over where SOCA left off. But also is getting responsibility for border policing, child exploitation and online protection and economic crime.
Is it going to affect the man and indeed the woman in the street? Are we going to see any difference?
Well, I mean, the government are saying that we will because they want the NCA to have a more active sort of policing approach and to be more visible than soccer were. So soccer had a more behind-the-scenes approach, providing intelligence for the local police forces, whereas it looks like the NCA are going to be more involved on the front line themselves.
But when you say more visible, what is that? Branded jackets, caps with their logo on?
Looks like it, yes. I mean, Keith Bristow, the chief of the NCA, is saying that describing the NCA as sort of FBI, UK version of the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the States, who are also kind of fairly visible with jackets and so on, is not inaccurate shorthand for what the NCA and how they will be operating.
It seems very American, doesn't it?
It does, but you know, I mean, there are some serious risks out there, and you know, I'm sort of looking forward to having the NCA support in dealing with some of those risks.
The nationalisation of services, is this a trend we can expect to continue within the police?
Well, as I say, this is really a rebranding exercise. And, you know, it is a bit of a concern that the NCA is going to be operating with less of a budget than the agencies it's taking over from had. So, you know, I don't think the change is going to be that dramatic.
Very quickly, Ollie, can we talk about the collaboration of work between yourselves and Hertfordshire Police? What's happening there? Are you doing much together?
Well, we're still talking to one another. I'd still describe myself as a friend of David Lloyd, and you know, we're still talking about the future.
But is anything happening? You've been talking for a while, haven't you?
Well, I mean, we're proceeding at a pace with the collaboration that we're having with Cambridgeshire, but we have the existing collaboration in terms of what we call joint protective services, so firearms, dogs, traffic policing, major crime unit. That's still there, collaborated between the three forces. And I very much hope that Hertfordshire will be part of what we do in the future as well, albeit that Cambridgeshire and Bedfordshire sort of will be collaborated by next April.
Ollie, thank you very much indeed. Ollie Martins, Police and Crime Commissioner for Bedfordshire. Going through a huge Beach Boys thing at the moment, as if that changes your life one jot. So page 3 of The Sun. Two things on page 3 strike me as odd. I didn't mean it to sound like an innuendo, but it does, and it's appropriate. One is, the page 3 girl, Lucy from 23, is not your normal shaped page 3 girl. She's rather more curvaceous. And I think it's great that women of all shapes and sizes can be exploited by The Sun. Well done them. But then on page 3, you go to the other side of page 3, there's a woman who obviously suffers from some sort of mental illness, some kind of mental condition, a psychological condition. Condition makes 28 stone mum eat cake during sex. So I would suggest, with my limited knowledge, that she's probably a food addict. She obviously has some kind of self-esteem issues that means that she can't be happy with the way she presents herself, so she kind of eats more and indulges in more. Supersized Sammy Matthews gets so... This is the sensitive way the Sun deal with mental illness. Supersized Sammy Matthews gets so turned on by cakes, she even scoffs donuts during sex. Just looking at pastries makes the 28-stone mum go weak at the knees. Sammy, 42, said, "When I walk into a bakery, the smell drives me wild. I have to call my boyfriend for sex." Well, I feel sorry for the staff in Greggs. To be honest, if that's the case. It's a huge turn-on for me to be eating delicious cakes or donuts while making love. It gives me the most amazing orgasms. I don't know if I can say that on breakfast radio. Just said it. That's the test case, my lad. There's something about the smell, flavour and texture which makes it so thrilling. Her fetish for cookie nookie. Anyway, basically, this woman's not very well, and the Sun have treated it with the respect they think it deserves by listing 5 things that she could eat that tie in with a fat woman being turned on by food. I'm not saying this for laughs. I genuinely think this is a little bit out of order. Lashings of whipped cream, buttered crumpet, spotted dick, bangers or hobnobs. That's the Sun. And we were being told the mail was bad for our kids at the weekend. Huh? 08459 455 555. Let's get that there travel, shall we?
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Keeping a close eye on the motorway cameras this morning, it is a very foggy and misty start in places, particularly on the M40 from High Wycombe down toward London. On the M1 as well, past Luton and Dunstable and Hemel and down toward the M25, and even on and around the M25 it's looking like a very misty and foggy start out there on the cameras. On the M25 we have problems anti-clockwise, 2 lanes are closed. This is an overturned car which is being recovered now between Enfield and Potters Bar, junctions 25 and 24 going into the roadwork section. That is slow well back into Essex. All traffic was held for a short while. It's just 1 lane open past the scene, which is why it's so busy. Aylesbury Road, the A418 in Wing. We've had reports of an accident at Church Street. These are just initial reports coming in. Police are on their way now to investigate. No details yet as to what's involved or whether or not the road is actually blocked. And we've got these problems for East Midlands trains. Disruption between East Midlands Parkway and St Pancras. It's because of overrunning engineering works up their lines between Leicester and Market Harborough. Northbound trains are having to divert via Corby, so if you need to get to Market Harborough station at the minute, you can't. And there are delays of up to half an hour. Some services down toward London are coming through a little late around Luton and Bedford as well. If you can update us, if you get caught up in a problem, 08459 455 555. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 6:30. I'm Lee Agnew. The headlines: the number of people who see carers for just 15 minutes has gone up, according to Leonard Cheshire Disability. It says 2/3 of councils allow 15-minute home care visits, despite concerns they're not long enough. A new organisation's being launched to tackle the threat from organised criminal gangs. The National Crime Agency will also deal with border policing, child protection and cybercrime. And a baby clinic in Wolverton could be forced to close. It's not being given space in the town's new health centre. The weather will be misty at first, but staying dry and sunny throughout the day. Top temperatures around 20 degrees Celsius, that's 68 degrees Fahrenheit.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Football first, and Arsenal atop of the Premier League table on goals difference after a 1-1 draw with West Brom. The Arsenal manager, Arsene Wenger, is pleased with their 11-match unbeaten run.
West Brom confirmed today the great performance we had at Man United last week, and 1-0 down was a hell of a task for us to come back. We've shown character, and you would say that overall the draw is a fair result of a very good game. But in the last half an hour, I think we had the chances to score second.
Luton Town say they need the support of all their fans if they're to gain promotion this season. The Hatters invited a supporter into their after-match huddle following the 4-3 win over Halifax on Saturday. Coach Hakan Haretin explains why they allowed Mark Baldwin to be there.
We have an ethos that if we're going to do something, we need everybody on side. The supporters, and John instills this in every team that he goes to. The person that sells the tickets, the person that cleans the turnstiles, everybody's got to be singing off the same sheet, and that includes the supporters. We want them behind us 100%. If we're going to be successful, they've got to play their part. And we're just showing them that we appreciate everything they do for us on a Saturday and the midweek game. So, they play their part.
And the Hatters are now preparing for tomorrow's conference trip to Aldershot. The MK Dons and Stevenage, who both lost on Saturday, are getting ready for their JPT Cup showdown, while Wickham take on Bristol City tomorrow. Sebastian Vettel is closing in on a fourth Formula One world title after winning the Korean Grand Prix. Vettel took the checkered flag in the Milton Keynes-based Red Bull to stretch his lead to 77 points in the Drivers' Championship. Jonathan Ledyard describes the closing stages of the race.
Sebastian Vettel. This has been another faultless performance. He was a winner in Belgium, he was a winner in Italy, he was a winner in Singapore, and he's crossing the line now. He's a winner in Korea. It's a hat-trick of victories. He's now stretched his lead in the championship. This is a four-time world champion in waiting.
And finally, in rugby, the Bedford Blues lost by 27 points to 45 against Bristol in the championship yesterday. BBC Three Counties News and Sport with more at 7 o'clock.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
That's the phone number. It's Iain Lee. Thank you to James Whale for sitting in for me last week. Much appreciated. Although, let's be honest, he didn't do it for free. He was getting paid, wasn't he, Catherine?
Yes, and he was worth every penny.
Good. He's good. I like James Whale. He's excellent. And I like the fact that he finally pulled up Gareth on his ridiculous haircut. We've all been saying it behind his back in the office. No, hang on a second. We've all been thinking it quietly to ourselves and then sending emails and instant messages to each other in the office, but no one has had the balls to say it, except for James Whale.
Yeah. Does anyone else remember Fido Dido?
Yes.
It's a flat top.
He used to advertise 7-Up, didn't he?
He did.
Catherine Boyle is here.
Hi
there. You've got the newspapers.
I have, yeah.
What's happening in the world? I've literally, last week, I saw no news, I read no news, I did no news.
Do you want front pages or shall I dive in?
Get whatever you fancy.
Well, I saw this. Disgraced ex-Italian PM Silvio Berlusconi, famous for his bunga bunga parties.
Yes.
He's going to do 12 months community service as punishment for tax fraud.
Really?
That will be hilarious.
So he'll be like picking up litter, escorting prostitutes home.
Well, he faces tasks such as cutting grass in parks and picking up litter. I get the feeling he'll manage to get out of that one.
He ain't never going to do that.
No.
He's never going to do that.
No. But that'll teach him.
I miss him and his slimy, greasy hair and his low sexual morals. We need more of that in Italian politics.
Well, as far as I could understand, that the Italians thought he was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Then I'm not sure they're laughing anymore, but they did. Hilarious caricature of a politician.
They did think that he was a little. Oh, it's just a little bit of fun. Him having sex with. Did he have sex with an underage prostitute? I don't. Before I get myself into a legal quagmire that I don't want to particularly be in.
There were rumours.
There were rumours. Which is a fantastic record. What else have you got?
Another thing that I've seen I thought was quite interesting. Sir Paul McCartney sacked somebody.
What?
The Mull of Kintyre, made famous by the fantastic bagpipe-led tune.
Which song was that?
Mull of Kintyre.
Oh, yeah.
Well, he had a house there. And they lived there for some 20 years, and it was one of his happiest places with Linda. But apparently, it was being it was getting away from the elderly caretaker, so he's got away from his job.
No, but so is the paper is outraged by the fact that Paul McCartney sacked someone.
They called it Cull of Kintyre.
Clever, very nice. It's got a whole full page as well, which strikes me as odd. But if he wasn't doing his job, this fella, then surely McCartney's in the right to sack him, isn't he?
It's believed estate manager Bob. I thought he's only 52. I thought we were talking about someone very, very elderly. The way they were going.
It's just some slacker.
52. He's been given his marching orders after 35 years in the job. Oh, that's the estate manager as well. No.
What? Hang on. Now listen. Come on. Get that.
No, actually, the bloke that's been sacked is only 50.
He's been there for 35 years. So
20 years.
Oh, in that case, jog on, he's a newcomer. The new Paul McCartney album is not out yet, but 6 of the tracks have been leaked from it.
Oh, right, are they good?
Well, I've downloaded... no, hang on a second, how do I get myself out of the legal quagmire?
You happen to hear them?
I happened to be walking past a young man who was playing them loud on his phone.
What a naughty lawbreaker.
And it wasn't very good.
Oh.
Which is not a surprise. Before he dies...
In terms of not very good, very good like Mull of Kintyre, that I actually quite like.
Oh, I like Mull of Kintyre.
Or not very good like... Jet.
Whoa.
Jet.
No. What you've done there is you've got yourself confused, because Jet is a brilliant song.
No.
The band that I am occasionally in play Jet as a song.
Oh, do you?
Yes, we do.
But in a comedy way?
No, in a normal way. It's a brilliant rock song.
It's awful.
Why is it awful?
I don't know. Maybe it's Alan Partridge. I've just got visions of him bouncing off his bed in the Travel Tavern.
Oh, you have to ignore the Partridge connotations and listen to the good pop connotations.
All right. Well, let me change my comparison then. Frog Chorus.
Yeah, it's like that. It's rubbish like that.
It's not Frog Chorus, is it?
It's as rubbish as the Frog Chorus.
Oh, okay.
What were we thinking in the 80s? We weren't even doing drugs in the 80s, were we? Go on, one more, and then I'm going to play some music, then we'll speak to Dealey.
One more. Oh, this is a serious one. Cruel short visits deprive elderly of dignity and care. More councils tell staff to stay just 15 minutes.
Yeah. Could we end on a happier one?
Okay, hang on.
My mum used to get care visits. They were 15 minutes.
Yeah, my gran did.
You can't do anything.
They didn't check that she ate her dinners or anything like that. And
my mum once had it. Well, my mum had two carers who nicked loads of her jewellery from her and £3,000 in cash from her. They kept going and taking her bank card and going to the bank. And one of them went to prison. That was we were very satisfying. But also another one didn't know how to cook pasta, so she gave her a bowl of uncooked dry pasta. How could anyone think that's acceptable? Idiots. End on a light-hearted one, Catherine.
An army of hedgehog nannies has been recruited across Britain to try to save the species. Once voted Britain's favourite creature, it's feared the hedgehog days are limited. I find that there are fewer of them squished in the road these days. Surely there are more hedgehogs living.
There's one in my garden.
There's two under my decking.
There was a dead vole in my kitchen again.
Oh, not again.
How can anyone say this is a rubbish song? It's wonderful, Boyle.
It's that bit. It's that.
Listen, this bit. Listen.
Jets.
It's fantastic.
It's all right.
Thank you very much indeed. There you go. 08459 455 555. If you want to have your say about Paul McCartney and Jet, of course you can. Let's do Dealey after 1:45, shall we? I want to give him a little bit of room to breathe. I want him to breathe. I want him to finish his fag, basically.
Come on back and we'll
Now, thank you. You're welcome. Now, Catherine and I were talking about something earlier on. I don't do old sweets from the 70s and your favourite TV programmes and stuff like that because it's rubbish. But do you remember these old sweets from the 70s? No, don't. Don't phone in about space hoppers and don't. But you could get like fake fags as sweeties. You could buy toy fags that were cigarettes that would kind of blow out smoke, and you could also buy you could buy like white sort of these white hard sticks that were supposed to be cigarettes, and also chocolate ones. They came in like a camel package, didn't they? And they were chocolate. They were cheap, as Catherine, dusty chocolate you call it, don't you?
Yeah, wrapped in paper that I'm not sure was edible. They said you could eat it, but
you could eat the paper, but it wasn't very nice.
It wasn't very nice.
I used to like those chocolate ones. I thought there was something quite sophisticated about them. But I can't. Can you still buy toy sweet cigarettes?
You can buy those ones. Those ones you were talking about that were white, hard. They're called candy sticks now. And
right.
I think you still get a little a picture card, because you used to get like footballers and Spider-Man when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But it had a pink bit on the end, so it looked like a lit cigarette. But I think these days they're just white, which, pointless really.
Well, it is pointless. If you're going to have a fake cigarette, have a one that looks like a good one. Yeah, exactly. Now, the reason we're talking about this is you've got a little girl. How old is your little girl? 5. And what was she doing? What did you catch her doing at the weekend? Not having a cigarette?
No, she was sitting on the end of the sofa and I could hear... I said, what are you doing?
Oh,
she had a straw.
Yeah.
She was smoking the straw.
Well, she could have been doing worse things with a straw.
Well, none of us smoke in our house. My parents don't smoke. My in-laws don't smoke. No one smokes. But I think it's because we went to Spain recently.
Oh.
And Spain smokes.
It's an Olympic sport over there. Those filthy continentals. They're always puffing away.
I said, what are you doing? She said, I'm blowing fire. I said, OK.
Wow.
I thought, at that moment, I thought, well, how do I handle this as a witty mother? I said, well, you can go and stand outside. You stink.
Oh, well, hang on, sorry. What social services?
Well, I got in on the game.
You told a 5-year-old she stinks. You're creating shame in a 5-year-old when she should be loved.
I said I said, honestly, that blowing fire is very bad for you. It makes you smelly and it makes you poorly. And if you were going to do that, you need to go and stand outside.
You've got cancer now. You've got cancer and you're going to die.
Yeah, but she handled it quite well. She said, it's only pretend, Mummy. It's only pretend.
I know what you need to do. I know exactly what you need to do. You need to get some plasters and stick them on her arm as pretend nicotine patches. That's what you need to do.
I've got some Hello Kitty ones. What they do?
Catherine, thank you for that. 08459 455 555. It raises an interesting thing, doesn't it? An interesting point. What if your kids have mocked the behaviour, not just of Spaniards, but of family members, or indeed you? I used to pretend to smoke. My dad was a very heavy smoker, and for a long time I did smoke. But how do you stop them doing that? Because it does look... They copy what the adults do. Even Spanish adults. They copy what they do. How on earth would you cope if you see your little child? I mean, she could have been... but so that was quite lucky that it was just smoking. How do you cope if your child is doing that? 08459 455 555. I've got boys now, but my oldest is 3.5, and he's started to spot people smoking. Daddy, what's that person doing? Oh, no, I don't know what to say. I genuinely don't know what to say. I don't want to introduce the concept of smoking. I don't want to even go there and say, oh, it's dirty and it's bad. I don't know what to say. So when my child... Well, it does make you smelly, you're right, it makes you stinky. But when a child says to you, what's that? What's smoking? What's that person putting in his mouth and breathing out smoke? What did you say to your kids? 08459 455 555. Let's get the travel now with Adam.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
No sign of the fog or mist lifting yet this morning. Driving conditions not great out there. People do seem to be taking it easy though, because the M1 is slower than it usually is. It's quite busy southbound from junction 11 at the A505 down toward 9 at Redbourne. But just make sure to be that little bit extra careful this morning, everyone. The A1M past Stevenage on the London-bound side is looking slow as well. It's quite busy on the M25. We've got problems anti-clockwise. 2 lanes are closed. Severe delays because of a car that's overturned. They're continuing with the recovery work between Enfield and Potters Bar. It's slow back into Essex as far as the M11. It's delays of nearly 2 hours. It's taking about 2 hours to get from the back of the queue to the front of it. They had to hold traffic just after the Holmesdale Tunnel in order to start the recovery work, and lane 3 is open past the scene, but you're going to find it very slow going. Problems in Wing, the A418 Aylesbury Road, an accident at Church Street. Police are on their way to investigate that. If you're going across to the M11 southbound, there's a lane closed, a 3-mile queue approaching an accident between Harlow and the M25. M25. First Capital Connect on the trains disrupted Stevenage to King's Cross and Welwyn Garden City to Moorgate. This is a broken down train at Alexandra Palace. The London-bound slow line has been blocked. Services are not able to stop at Alexandra Palace at the minute, and delays of up to 15 minutes are expected. There are also delays for East Midlands train services. They've got overrunning engineering works further up their lines between Leicester and Market Harborough. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Adam. 6:47, it's Monday the 7th of October. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. The number of people getting home care for just 15 minutes at a time is rising. That's according to Leonard Cheshire Disability. A new national task force is being launched today to tackle serious and organised crime. The weather will be mostly misty at first, but dry and sunny throughout the day. Coming up, sing hosannas. I can take off the towel that's been covering my television for the last 6 months. The greatest TV programme of all time is coming back, and it's being filmed in Luton. We should be proud of ourselves. What is it? I will tell you shortly. Before that, let's get the latest weather.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
OK, we haven't got any weather, so let's have a bit of this.
It's been another amazing year for British sporting talent.
And Andy Murray, 6'4", 7'5", 6'4", has only gone and done it.
But who are our unsung sporting heroes? Every year, the BBC recognises people across the UK who aren't stars, but simply go that extra mile. They inspire people to take part in sport in all our local communities, and for no reward.
Chris Froome is the champion of this 100th Tour de France. It's a second British victory inside 12 months.
Let us know your sporting unsung hero now. Go to bbc.co.uk/unsung hero to download a nomination form. Closing date is Wednesday, October the 16th. They all deserve our support.
08459 455 555. TV is a dire and dull place, apart from tonight if you live in the London region and watch the London version of Inside Out, because I'm on it. But otherwise, it's not really worth watching at all. It's a load of old tosh on there. Or is it? Good news, fans of excellent television, because if you like to see celebrities being slid into swimming pools like Free Willy... Bad news, though, if you've paid to use Luton's new and shiny sports village. Splash is returning to our screens in January, and it'll be filmed again in Stopsley, which means 2 months of disruption for anyone who saw the last series and felt as inspired to sign up for classes as Luton Borough Council hoped they would. Well, the council still won't tell us how much they're making out of the deal. You can bet it's a few quid. You can bet it's not quite as much as it was last time. But they insist all profits are being poured into facilities. We can cross now to our water sports correspondent, Justin Dilly. Good morning, Justin. Justin? I'm trying all of them, and he's not there. Justin, where on earth are you? We'll hunt down Justin Daly as quickly as we can. I want your views on this. I genuinely think that this is a fantastic TV show. I'm a huge fan of it, and was very disappointed when there was talk that it might not be in Luton anymore. There was talk of them going to the Olympic pool. We'll have none of that, for goodness sakes. We want it here. Well, 08459 455 555. Luton, Justin, are you there?
Morning, boss.
Hello, sir. Good to speak to you.
And good to have you back.
Well, listen, you said some very nice things about me this morning, and as a result of that, I will be telling you my Matt, or indeed Luke Goss stories a little bit later on in the show. I've had a run-in with one of the Bros boys.
Yeah, well, James Well is best friends with the Boss boy, with the Bros boys.
The Bros boss?
Yes, the Bros boss, yes.
Well, listen, it's good to be back, and thank you for making me feel so welcome, although there was no need for that full-on kiss on the lips. That was just awkward.
It was enjoyable, though.
Now, listen, you and I both think, genuinely, our tongues are not in our cheeks, that Splash is a wonderful television programme.
Oh, do you know what, Splash? I absolutely loved it. Who would not be excited about this TV show? Prime time ITV TV show, average audience of 5.6 million viewers, Z-list celebrities such as Eddie the Eagle Edwards, jumping off diving boards. Who would not be into that? Come on.
You say Z-list. There were some big stars. Omid Jalili was in The Mummy too.
Omid Jalili, who else? Joey Essex we had Linda Barker, of course, presented by Vernon Kay and Gabby Logan. I loved it. I thought, you know what, as a TV show, as a weekend, Saturday night, primetime TV show, it ticks all of my boxes.
Now, you've been speaking to people at the Sports Centre in Luton. Are they excited?
They are, actually. This was announced on Friday. It's filmed at Inspire in Stopsley. Facilities absolutely brilliant. It cost £26 million to build that new sports centre. So I was there on Friday when it was announced it was coming back to Luton. And Ian, here's what people had to say. Splash is coming back. Are you excited?
Very excited, yes.
Yeah?
I watched the first one, so that was good. Yeah, really good.
Puts Luton on the map?
It certainly does, and it's good for children. It's inspirational and encourages diving. He's just started dive gym. He's 3, so it's getting him thinking about diving and swimming, so it's all good.
So your young lad here, did he come diving off the back of watching that TV show?
Well, I think it certainly helped because he watched it and he was inspired by it.
This is great.
So he wanted to do diving, and he swims. Every week we go swimming. And so he does diving with David and Harry and in the dive gym, so hopefully soon we'll get him in the real pool, won't we, on the boards, Bob?
And Tom Daly in his Speedos, can you score him out of 10?
Probably, yeah, a 9.5.
You haven't seen me in my Speedos yet. Thank you very much.
See you later, bye.
Oh, I love Splash. It's exciting, you know, something different coming to the town. It's good, yeah. Bit of fun.
And when you're watching TV and they're saying live from Luton, does that make you feel good about your town?
Of course it does, absolutely. I live up the road in Stopsley, not far from here. So, yeah, of course it does, absolutely.
It's great for the town, and it's great that we've had the swimming pool built here.
Maureen, Splash is coming back. How do you feel about that?
Well, I hope to get a ticket. It was really great. I think it's great for Luton, great for Inspire, and it was fun.
I mean, you say you hope to get a ticket. Did you get a ticket last year?
Yes,
then?
I did. I came on the very first day, and it was massively oversubscribed, but we were given the chance to reapply.
And describe the atmosphere inside the pool that night.
Crazy.
Really?
Yeah, people were shouting. Yeah. People had banners. They were all dressed up.
So you see this as fantastic news for Luton then?
Yes, it is. And anything good for Luton is great. We need it.
Any promotion to the town is wonderful. And the more tourists we get, the more people we get, the more revenue and more businesses. So.
Well, I'm not sure exactly how many tourists will be attracted because of Splash. Lots of positive voices there, Justin.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, a lot of people are really up for this. Of course, having their town on national TV is a great thing, but where there's good, there will be bad as well. Later, you're going to be hearing from Louise. Now, she has 3 children who swim for Team Luton. Now, when the show is filmed for those 8 weeks in January and February of next year, her children, they can't use the pool on a Friday or a Saturday because they're either using it when the show's live or they're setting up the studio in that pool. She's paying over £100 a month for her 3 children to use that pool.
Ouch.
Now, she hasn't been offered any form of refund by Luton Borough Council because she can't use the pools on those particular days. So they've had the problems before. Now the TV show's coming back, they will experience all those problems once again, and quite frankly, she's not happy.
Justin, thank you very much indeed. The serious side of Splash there. 08459 455 555.
Oh, travel news from Ben.
Not quite sure how that happened. That was supposed to be Cher, for goodness sakes. Let's see if we can find Cher again, shall we? So I'm really looking forward to hearing her new single. No, that won't work. Don't worry. We've got computer technology here. We can do these kind of things. If I put that there, right, and then press this button, better be worth it. After all the effort. Oh, it's a ballad. Oh, yeah, well done if you've just tuned in without wanting to. That was Cher. You can blame her. She's had a tough time, what with Sunny and everything, so, you know.
These clouds aren't going nowhere, darling. Rain keeps coming down. I just thought I'd try to call you, for you got too far out of town. And I hope that you get this message that I'm leaving for you, 'cause I'd hate that you left without hearing the words that I needed you to. And I hope you find it, what you're looking for. I hope it's in supposed to hang around and wait forever. Last words that I said, but that was nothing but a broken heart talking, darling. You know it wasn't what I meant. Call me up, let me know that you got this message that I'm leaving for you. 'Cause I'd hate that you left without hearing the words that I needed you to. And I hope you find it, what you're looking for. I hope it's everything you dreamed your life could be, and so much more. And I hope you're happy wherever you are. I wanted you to know that, and nothing's gonna change that. I hope you find it.
Well, that's the new one from Cher. Well, yeah, you know, listen, as long as it keeps her happy, she's an old lady, let her get on with it. If you do live near Cher, go and knock on the door, mate. She's all right. It's getting cold out there, OK?
What you looking for?
Enough of that, though. Oh, now Cher's playing again. Oh, I can't get the travel. Oh, for goodness sakes. Listen, you're going to have to do Acapulco, I'm afraid, Adam.
All right, no worries.
Yeah, no worries. Blame Cher.
Problems on the M25. Anti-clockwise, 2 lanes are closed. This is an overturned car. They're still doing the recovery work between Enfield and Potters Bar. So it says you go into the roadworks section and there are delays of what looks like about 2 hours. It's a big queue back beyond the M11. It's taking on average 2 hours to get through if you're at the back of it. Lane 3 is the only lane open past the scene. The M1 southbound is busy from junction 11 at the A505 toward 9 at Redbourne. The A418 in Wing, we have reports of an accident at Church Street. Sketchy details on that one still. Police on their way to investigate. If you're going across to the M11, southbound, 1 lane closed. This is a 5-mile queue approaching an accident now between Harlow and the M25. Still very foggy around there, and very foggy generally this morning. First Capital Connect disruption, Stevenage to King's Cross, Welwyn Garden City to Moorgate. It's a broken down train, Alexandra Palace. East Midlands trains have problems further up their line, overrunning works, Leicester to Market Harborough. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you, Adam. Sorry for the confusion. I was Googling, does Paul McCartney wear a wig? I genuinely was.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 7 o'clock, I'm Lee Agnew. The headlines: concern about short home care visits, a new task force to tackle organised crime, and a Wolverton baby clinic could be forced to close.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
A leading charity says the number of people having home care visits restricted to just 15 minutes has increased significantly. A survey has found that 2/3 of councils allow 15-minute visits, despite concerns they're not long enough. The chief executive of Leonard Cheshire Disability, Claire Pelham, says those most in need are being let down.
We're treating disabled and older people as if they're robots to be serviced, rather than real people who deserve to be treated with kindness and consideration. And it's simply not possible to support somebody to get dressed, have a bath and have breakfast in 15 minutes. It just isn't.
A new organisation is being launched this morning to tackle the threat from organised criminal gangs. The National Crime Agency will also deal with border policing, child protection and cybercrime. Ollie Martins, the Police and Crime Commissioner for Bedfordshire, says he welcomes the support the NCA will provide, but isn't expecting any major changes.
This is really a rebranding exercise. And, you know, it is a bit of a concern that the NCA is going to be operating with less of a budget than the agencies it's taking over from had. So, you know, I don't think the change is going to be that dramatic.
More police officers in Milton Keynes will be carrying tasers from today. Before now, only firearms officers were allowed to use the devices. A baby clinic in Wolverton could be forced to close. The town's new health centre was going to home the facility when the old centre was closed, but a seminar room has been included instead. Mothers in the town are unhappy they'll have to take their children to New Bradwell and Fuller Slade.
I think this is going to be a massive effect on mums in the local area. Our town is getting bigger as the years go on. It's such an important facility that we need in the area to make sure mums get the help they need, you know, at this very important time.
The government's being accused of failing people with eating disorders, with some patients having to wait long periods before getting treatment. While there are waiting time targets for physical health problems, mental health issues are currently excluded. Catherine Burns reports.
The charity Beat asked 331 people who've had outpatient treatment for eating disorders how long they waited to get help. 26% said they were still on waiting lists after 6 months. 8% claimed they hadn't received help after a year, and 22% said they paid for private treatment. The Health Minister, Norman Lamb, says this is a very urgent priority. His aim is to bring in maximum waiting times by 2015.
In sport, Arsenal are top of the Premiership on goals scored after a 1-1 draw against West Brom. And in rugby, the Bedford Blues lost by 27 points to 45 against Bristol in the Championship. The weather for Bedtards and Bucks will be misty at first, but staying dry and sunny throughout the day. Top temperatures around 20 degrees Celsius, that's 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. My computer keeps crashing at unfortunate moments. I'm looking at Facebook, and someone has... All I can read of a message posted is... Catherine Boyle needs to sit her daughter down. That's all it says. I can't access any more because the computer is being ridiculously slow. Catherine, we're talking about Catherine's daughter pretending to smoke straws. Catherine Boyle needs to sit her daughter down and make her smoke every straw in the packet until she's sick. That's brilliant. What do you do when your kids notice people smoking and start asking what it is or start copying it, mimicking it? What do you do? My boy's going to be 4 in January. He's spotted people smoking. Daddy, what are they doing? What's that thing making smoke in that woman's mouth? We hang out in classy places. I don't know what to say. What do you say to a child when they start asking those questions? 08459 455 555. Other things this morning. More tasers in Milton Keynes, fewer police investigating organised crime, and are you happy to have splashback? Facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can send me a text, 81333, start your text 3CR, or you can give me a call, 08459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's a serious question. Not necessarily about the splashback, but the smoking. How did you stop? What did you say to your kids? How did you stop them? Because I genuinely think... I mean, I was adamant I was never going to smoke when I was a kid. And I ended up smoking. I ended up smoking roll-ups. Like a tramp. Disgusting. Rich, chocolatey, velvety taste of Golden Virginia. No, it's horrible, really. But I do think if you go in too heavy-handed with kids, it's going to give you cancer, it's really bad for you, that doesn't mean anything. I don't think the pictures on the packets of cigarettes do anything either. That's not real. If they want to stop people really smoking, they need to stick a tumour on the packet of cigarettes. That's what you want on there, a real one. What do you say to kids? What did you say to your kids to stop them smoking? 08459 455 555. Genuine question from a concerned parent. Moi. Now, more Milton Keynes police officers will be carrying tasers from today. Until now, the device capable of stunning a suspect with 50,000 volts has only been used by firearms officers. Well, now it's being rolled out across the force to bring the number trained to use it in line with the national average. Graham Smith is chairman of the Thames Valley Police Federation and joins me now. Morning, Graham. Is this something that the police officers have been asking for?
I think most police officers want to look after the public, and this is about looking after the public, ensuring the safety of the public and also the officers.
It doesn't always ensure the safety of the public, though, does it? There are cases where people have been zapped for the wrong reasons.
Well, unless we know the exact details, we can't actually say it was for the wrong reasons.
A blind fella carrying a white stick. People thought it was a samurai sword.
You know, Ian, I can't comment on that because I don't really know what happened in those circumstances.
But you know, Graham, you know it happens. You know people have been zapped by accident. We all know that's happened. So that's not keeping the public safe, is it?
No, we do keep the public safe because actually a lot of times in difficult situations, by the production of the taser stops us having to use any more force than is necessary. So actually pointing the red dot on somebody's torso, if they've got a knife or whatever weapon or whatever situation is, resolves the situation without actually using any other force. You know, if we don't have them, we'd have to strike them with batons, use CS gas, etc., which could cause more trauma to them.
I'd rather get whacked with a baton than get zapped with 50,000 volts. Yeah, oh, yes. Oh, yes. There's less chance of me wetting myself if I get whacked with the baton. What exactly is this going to mean for policing in Milton Keynes? How will it change?
It won't change anything. Really, it won't change anything. There'll be face-to-face talking with people all the time. All it will ensure is that where we need a different tool to resolve a situation, it's available in probably a quicker time.
If it won't change anything, then why is it being done? Surely it must change something.
Yeah, it will. It enables that we've got the actual tools to resolve complex situations quicker, and it enables officers and the public safety to be ensured.
Are some officers worried that this will put them in greater danger to criminals? If criminals know that the police have got tasers, then they might have a gun when perhaps they possibly wouldn't carry a gun.
No, I don't think that's the case at all. I think officers understand what it's to be used for, and they honestly do not believe that it will increase the use of guns by criminals.
And do we have evidence to support that? Has research been done into that? Because it seems pretty obvious to me that if criminals think there's a chance of getting zapped, they're going to have something themselves.
Well, I mean, the evidence is available. I mean, since we've used CS gas, criminals haven't started using CS gas on us. Since we've used
but a taser is different in that it is more of a weapon than CS gas, isn't it? It's a firearm. It's described legally as a firearm.
And a CS gas is legally a firearm as well. So, you know, there's no difference in the law between CS gas and a taser being classified as a firearm. You know, we just have to, the public need to understand it's about their safety, it's about the police officer's safety, it's about resolving situations safely without escalation of force.
How often have tasers been used in Thames Valley?
I haven't got those details to hand. If you ring me back, I'll get those details to you and speak to you another time.
Okay, yeah, that'd be interesting to find out. But I'm imagining it's quite rare.
It is rare, the use of it, the actual discharge of it, because a lot of the situations are actually resolved without discharge.
But you mean that they could be drawn and pointed, but that's as far as it needs to go. That calms the situation down.
Absolutely, it does, and that's a really good method to resolve really very difficult violent situations.
Ever fired one?
No, I haven't had fired one. I'm quite happy with my CS gas and side handle baton, or baton as it is now. Well,
then, if you're quite happy with those, why are you happy with those and not with the taser?
I am happy with the taser. I don't personally want to carry one.
Why not?
Because I'm from a tradition. I've been a police officer for over 25 years. I'm from a tradition where when I walk the streets, which is a very, very different time, all I had was a truncheon and a pair of handcuffs. We've moved on in society. Society is more confrontational than it was 25 years ago.
It's fascinating stuff. Graham, thank you very much for joining me this morning. Graham Smith, chairman of the Thames Valley Police Federation. It's interesting, isn't it? There have been a few incidences where people have been shot with tasers. The blind fellow with the white stick, they thought it was a samurai sword or something, is the famous one. There aren't that many of them. It does make me feel a little bit uncomfortable, and I don't know why. I couldn't give you... This is what I'm hoping to get some way clearer to understanding by 9 o'clock this morning, and I need your help with this, please. 08459 455 555. It makes me uncomfortable, but I don't know why. I don't have a strong argument as to why I am, I guess, against this. I don't have a strong argument. If you were to phone me up and challenge me, it's one of those ones I would be on the back foot. It doesn't happen very often, but I would be on the back foot today. There's just something about it that doesn't feel right. And that's not a strong enough argument in the court of law, is it, my lad? What do you think? Are you concerned about more police in Milton Keynes? And when I say more, it's going to bring it in line with the national average, so it's not as if Milton Keynes is, outstripping the rest of the country. More police in Milton Keynes will be carrying tasers. It's about 11%, something like that. Does that concern you at all? Or do you think, no, actually, it's a cracking idea, good. It'll make the streets a lot safer. If you do think it will make the streets safer, could you give me a call and convince me, let me know why? 08459 455 555 is the telephone number. If you want to give me a call on that, you can also send me a text. 81333. Start your text. 3CR. Normally I have quite a strong argument one way or the other about things. I have a feeling about this, but not a particularly strong argument. John's in Milton Keynes. John, do you feel safer knowing there'll be more police on the streets with tasers?
I think so, but having said that, I was listening to the officer from the Police Federation, and I think it's a fairly well-known fact that firearms are easy or can be easy to obtain. So there might be a bit of a conflict there.
Well, are you concerned that more criminals might arm themselves as a result of police having tasers?
Yeah, exactly so.
See, that's kind of my fear. I have no evidence to back that up apart from what I've seen in the movies. It's a strange one, this, John. I have no scientific evidence, no empirical data, nothing like that. I just have a feeling, and my feeling is I'm not very comfortable with this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I agree with you.
John, are you the John that we sent the Chaz and Dave CD to?
Yes, indeed. It arrived a few days ago. And I haven't stopped playing it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's just the one track.
Yes, it's just the single. Sorry about that.
Hey, don't worry about that, no, because the complete CD is being released on the 28th of October. I've made inquiries. 28th of October, yeah.
Well, listen, if I get sent the album, John, once I've taped it, if I get sent the album, John, I'll send it to you.
Excellent.
I don't know if I've not heard if I'm being sent the album, but if it pops up in my pigeonhole, then you can have it, sir.
Great stuff. Thank you very much, Iain.
John, thank you very much indeed. There we go. John and I have bonded over tasers and Chaz and Dave. Chasers. There we go, you see? You see? Thank you, John. People said that record was rubbish. They were wrong. 08459 455 555. Tasers. The police being armed with tasers. I don't have an argument as to why I think it's bad, but I do think it's bad. If you're a copper... Could you give me a call? We spoke to Graham Smith, chairman of the Thames Valley Police Federation. He said that most officers are happy with this. I always thought police were a little bit reluctant to be armed to any greater degree than they already are. What if you are a police officer, or if you know one? How do you feel about the prospect of possibly having something else to weigh you down? It's going to stop you running after crooks because you're going to be a little bit heavier, but you can zap them. 08459 455 555. 7:15, BBC Three Counties Radio. Let's get the travel now with Adam.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
We've just had an update from the police on the A418. They went to investigate that accident that was reported as being near Wing. It's actually a bit closer to Bearton. They're on the scene now. It's at the Rosham Road junction, and they're directing traffic at the moment around that accident. The M1 southbound, slow moving from junction 11 at the A505 toward 9 at Redbourne, the A5 there. The A1M, slow from Stevenage, junction 8 to 7. The M11, if you're going across, expect delays. 6 miles of queues after an accident earlier. That was before the M25. The congestion almost halfway back to Stansted and Bishop Stortford at junction 8, although all lanes have reopened, so hopefully that traffic will start to ease. Got problems now. We've just literally had problems reported further back on the M1. A breakdown from junction 11 toward junction 10 on the southbound side. There's one lane blocked by that, so that's going to be contributing to the already busy stretch there from junction 11 down toward junction 9. Still very foggy out there this morning as well, so people are driving a little bit more carefully. make sure you've got your headlights on and do take it that little bit more easily because driving conditions are not perfect and visibility is not great. M25, anti-clockwise, severe delays. This is an overturned vehicle between Enfield and Potters Bar. It's slow back into Essex, and for people joining the back of the queue, it's taking nearly 2 hours to get through. All lanes have now reopened, but it's still very busy. Further round anti-clockwise, slow from Kings Langley at junction 20, queuing from Maple Cross to the M40. On the trains, First Capital Connect have half-hour delays Stevenage to King's Cross and Welwyn Garden City to Moorgate. This is because of an earlier broken-down train at Alexandra Palace. Disruption for East Midlands trains, they have issues further. And Market Harborough. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties.
Thank you, Adam. I think you were zapped by a taser halfway through that, but we got the gist. 7:17, it's Monday, the 7th of October. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. A leading care charity says the number of people getting home care visits for just 15 minutes at a time is rising. Another national task force is being launched today to tackle serious and organised crime. And a baby clinic in Wolverton could be forced to close because it's not being given space in the town's new health centre. Weather today will be misty at first, but dry and sunny throughout the day. Coming up, new parents in Wolverton will have to travel further for weigh-ins from now on. We'll be speaking to Wolverton's patient group to find out how it will work.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Every weekday morning from 9, the biggest local talking points.
There is only one professional force that can control chemical weapons. How can we, as a civilised country, stand by and let more poor innocent children get killed?
The JVS Show.
Harry's in Bedford. Let's see what Harry wants to say.
She knew what the laws were. She knew what she was doing. She got caught. Tough.
I disagree with the penalty. I think that for smuggling drugs, it shouldn't be a death penalty.
The JVS Show. Weekdays from 9. BBC Three Counties Radio.
JVS is off this week, but the excellent Ollie Mann is coming in. He is excellent. I've heard him do a show through the night. It's 3 o'clock in the morning when you don't get any callers. I've heard him do that, and I've heard him be excellent at 3 in the morning without any callers. So imagine him at 9 in the morning with you lot calling in. How good is that going to be? Looking forward to that a lot. We've been talking about tasers. The Milton Keynes police are going to have more tasers. It's going to bring them in line with the national average, so it's not as if they've gone taser crazy. Angela has called in. Morning, Angela.
Good morning.
Do you feel more comfortable knowing that the police will have extra tasers?
I'm not really sure about that, because I have a son, he's 26, and he suffers from bipolar, and he was tasered by the police a couple of years ago, and they tasered him twice. He actually got out of where he was, the hospital, where he was staying, and they found out where he was, and actually my eldest son, my son with bipolar, he contacted him because I don't know how he managed to get his phone, and my eldest son led the police to where he was hiding, and my eldest son was rather upset because he said he felt that they didn't really need to use the taser, but they actually tasered him twice.
Twice at the same incident?
That's right.
What now? Your son with bipolar, how old was he when this happened?
24.
And how does the bipolar affect him? What does he display?
Well, now he's fine because the medication, he's taking it regularly, but then I think he was quite sort of hyper, and he's he's quite a skinny lad, but he's about 6'3", so right. I'm not sure whether, they felt that he was a threat, but, I felt that, perhaps, my elder son said there were about 10 police officers that subdued him, but he said he was tasered twice and they had to take him to hospital, obviously, to check him over, but, I sort of felt perhaps, if there were 10 officers, could they not have subdued a young lad without tasering him twice?
Do you know what the effect of the first taser was? Why they had to use a second one?
Well, my eldest son said that they tasered him, and that sort of knocked him a bit, and then I don't think they felt that they'd completely subdued him, but there were no weapons or anything involved, and I can understand the police using such measures if they were weapons, but this was a young lad who they knew, they were informed, had mental problems. And
Was there a chance that your boy could have hurt himself? Is that possibly why they used the tasers?
Well, he was in a sort of area near a college, and it was like an open area, and there were bushes, and he was hiding when my eldest son led them to where he was.
Right.
I think my son, with bipolar, he was sort of telling my eldest son to bring him his car or something, because he wasn't thinking properly. But my eldest son decided that it would be the right thing to get the police to get him back into the hospital.
Is one of the criticisms that the police often face is that they don't necessarily handle mental illness in particularly the right way. But I guess, and having not been there, and I know you weren't there, you've just heard your son's side, I would imagine that the police possibly felt threatened, and hopefully they felt they had no other choice. I would hate to think they did it just because it was the easier option.
Yes, afterwards he said, and he can talk about it rationally now, because he's been on regular medication and he sort of seems like his old self, but he remembers that he was sort of, as he was pushed into the police car, he's got some recollection of like bumping his head, and his watch and his glasses were broken. But I'm not sure whether this is a result of going down after being tasered. But we were very worried about it, and I just felt the fact there were 10 police officers and no weapons involved, I just felt it was a bit extreme.
Your boy's on the mend now, is he, Angela?
Yes, he is.
Good.
He's doing very well now, thank you.
Excellent. Angela, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. She's not convinced that more tasers on the street is necessarily a good thing. What do you think? It sits uncomfortably with me, and I don't know why. I have no strong argument. I have no facts. I just have a feeling that more tasers is not necessarily a good thing. 08459 455 555. Can you convince me otherwise? Now, new parents in Wolverton will have to travel further for baby weigh-ins from now on after the removal of the local service. They'll have to go further afield for baby clinics despite the opening of a brand new health centre, and the news hasn't gone down well.
It's such an important facility that we need in the area to make sure mums get the help they need, at this very important time.
Mums in Wolverton, basically, if you've got to get out of the house with a small young baby, it's difficult enough to be able to have to find a new place other than the place that you've been going to for your antenatal care and things would just make it harder.
Basically, I'm not going to be going very often. My first child, I got weighed every 2 weeks. Now I'm going to be going less than once a month, and that's when I can actually get myself back out the house after the school run.
Well, that's the voice and thoughts of some people. I'm joined now by Sarah Dockery from Wolverton's patient group. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
How much of an issue is this going to be for parents in Wolverton?
I think it's a really significant issue, and I think it's important to point out that actually, despite the fact that the new health centre is being built and about to open at the moment, this is actually it's a more complex decision than that. And although space was offered to the health visitors in the new health centre, they chose not to take that and to move the service to the children's centres, which in itself is not a bad idea, but actually when we live in Wolverton and some of the surrounding areas, that's quite a long way away because we don't have a centre.
Why did they choose not to take it?
I think there are lots of reasons, and I think they saw it as an opportunity to embrace, according to them, government guidelines that bring these services together, which parents are not opposed to, but the parents of Wolverton feel that actually this is going to have a huge effect on mothers of young babies who are now going to have to walk 1.5 miles on average to their nearest centre to have their baby weighed. And
my boys are kind of 3 and 2 now, but I remember how important it is, particularly with the first one, to have somewhere that's local and nearby that you can go and get baby weighed, you can go and ask questions of, because it can be a tense time, can't it, for new parents?
Absolutely. I mean, I think anyone who's been there, and even those who've witnessed others, will acknowledge that being a mum to a baby under a year is a pretty tough job, even when you're doing well and you have no complications. And we're really aware that this service is such an important service to parents, particularly in that first year, and we just feel that this is potentially going to make it harder to access, and maybe those who really need it the most will be the least likely to be able to make that journey.
And there might be some people, Sarah, saying, oh, well, come on, it's only 1.5 miles they have to walk. What would your reaction be to them?
I think, yes, if you compare us to places in the world where that would be a luxury, then yes, I can see that argument. But actually, I myself have got twin boys and a daughter as well, and, I wouldn't have known which Tuesday of the month it was, let alone be able to get myself out of the house for a 1.5 mile walk, particularly in the early stages after having a cesarean maybe, or maybe other traumas after having a baby. I think it is a significant distance, and also Wolverton is a growing population. We have houses going up all the time, and we've got significant population growth. We grew 15% between 2001 and 2011. To move these services away from the area denies the reality that we're a growing young population.
How old are your kids, Sarah?
My boys are now 7 and my daughter's 4, so I won't be using the service again.
Well, no, maybe you can help us with a question that we're asking this morning. Catherine Boyle, who's producing the show this morning, her young girl, who's 5, was kind of caught pretending to smoke a straw, and my little boy, who's nearly 4, has started spotting people smoking and saying, "Daddy, what's that? Why is that man making smoke come out of his mouth?" Have your kids spotted that, and what have you said to them?
They have indeed spotted it and have embarrassed me more than once by saying loudly on the other side of the road, "Is that thing that you don't think people should do?"
Oh, well done! Oh, well done!
A really hard balance between letting them know it's maybe not such a good thing to do, but equally getting them to understand the time and the place to point it out.
Listen, discretion is never, important in children. Cause I don't know what to say to my boy, because I don't want to make too big a deal of it, because it might create some mystique and make it seem a little bit sexy to him.
Maybe. I don't know. It's a really tricky one.
It is a tricky one. And you're holding a protest later this morning, aren't you? What's happening?
Well, some of the mums in Wolverton have arranged to gather on the green, not at the health centre, but just opposite the health centre on the Raise, which the patient participation group in Wolverton, which I'm chair of, are supporting them to do that, to represent their views. Although we're keen to say that actually the health centre are really not a part of this decision-making process, because the health visitors belong to the Milton Keynes Community Health Service, so we're hopefully helping parents to target their frustrations at the Milton Keynes Community Health Service to hopefully see some change at a higher level that will affect and change this decision, because it has already been implemented, unfortunately.
Sarah, thank you very much indeed. Sarah Dockery from Wolverton's patient group. We did contact the Milton Keynes Community Health Service for a comment, but they didn't come back to us. 08459 455 555 is the phone number. If you've got any tips on what I can say to my boys, they're fascinating. It looks cool. To a 4-year-old boy, someone sucking on a stick and then blowing smoke out of their mouth, that looks cool. Of course it looks cool. Dad, what's that man doing? Making smoke coming from his mouth. Don't look at it. I don't know I've got no idea what to say. Any tips on that would be good. And also, how do you feel about more tasers being introduced into Milton Keynes? 08459 455 555. Let's get the travel now with Adam.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Still got problems in Bearton, the Aylesbury to Wing Road, the A418. This is still partly blocked by an accident at Rosham Road, with police on the scene and having to direct traffic past because it's partly blocked both ways, so they're having to let traffic take it in turns to get through there. Better news for the M1, because we had a broken down vehicle between the A505 and junction 10 at the Luton Airport Spur. Junctions 11 and 10, that is now gone and all lanes are open, but you're still going to find it generally very slow going on the M1 southbound from junction 11 roughly down to junction 9 at Redbourne. The A5 on the speed sensor is starting to busy up a little bit through Dunstable as well. We've got some short queues on the A1M, slow moving traffic as you go past Stevenage junction 8 to 7, then into London, delays on the A1 in the usual spot. It's Stirling Corner down toward Apex Corner and onwards toward Mill Hill. Problems on the M11, still a 6-mile queue from roughly halfway back as far as Stansted and Bishop Stortford junction 8 all the way down toward the M25 after an accident earlier. That has now cleared as well. On the M25 anti-clockwise, we had the overturned car, which has now been recovered, but it still caused long delays back along the anti-clockwise M25 from roughly Potters Bar into Essex. It's looking very, very slow. We've now also got a broken down vehicle in those queues between Enfield and Potters Bar, so almost exactly where the accident happened earlier. Further around the M25, it's slow past Kings Langley and past Maple Cross toward the M40. You have half-hour delays for First Capital Connect, Stevenage to King's Cross and Welwyn Garden City to Moorgate this morning after a train broke down at Alexandra Palace. They've also had a signalling problem at Hatfield. And East Midlands trains disruption further up the lines, and this is all because of overrunning engineering works between Leicester and Market Harborough. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's It's 7:30. I'm Lee Agnew. The headlines: the number of people who see carers for just 15 minutes has gone up, according to Leonard Cheshire Disability. It says 2/3 of councils allow 15-minute home care visits, despite concerns they're not long enough. A new organisation is being launched to tackle the threat from organised criminal gangs. The National Crime Agency will also deal with border policing, child protection and cybercrime. And another series of the TV show Splash with Tom Daly will be filmed in Luton. Luton Borough Council says any money it makes from the show will be used to improve the town's sports facilities. The weather will be misty at first, but staying dry and sunny throughout the day. Top temperatures around 20 degrees Celsius, 68 degrees Fahrenheit.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Arsenal atop of the Premier League table on goals difference after a 1-1 draw with West Brom. The Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger is pleased with their 11-match unbeaten run.
West Brom confirmed today the great performance they had at Man United last week, and 1-0 down was a hell of a task for us to come back. We've shown character, and you would say that overall the draw is a fair result of a very good game. But in the last half an hour, I think we had the chances to score second.
Luton Town say they need the support of all their fans if they're to gain promotion this season. The Hatters invited a supporter into their after-match huddle following the 4-3 win over Halifax on Saturday. Coach Hakan Haretin explains why they allowed Mark Baldwin to be there.
We have an ethos that if we're going to do something, we need everybody on side. The supporters, and John instills this in every team that he goes to. The person that sells the tickets, the person that cleans the turnstiles, everybody's got to be singing off the same sheet, and that includes the supporters. We want them behind us 100%. If we're going to be successful, they've got to play their part, and we're just showing them that we appreciate everything they do for us on a Saturday and a midweek game. So, they play their part.
And the Hatters are now preparing for tomorrow's conference trip to Aldershot. The MK Dons and Stevenage, who both lost on Saturday, are getting ready for their JPT Cup showdown, while Wickham take on Bristol City. Sebastian Vettel is closing in on a fourth Formula One world title after winning the Korean Grand Prix. Hertfordshire's Lewis Hamilton was fifth in the Mercedes. Vettel took the checkered flag in the Milton Keynes-based Red Bull to stretch his lead to 77 points in the Drivers' Championship.
Good points, for sure. Feels very good. I think a very, very strong performance today by the whole team. Very happy with that. The car, I think, was very good. But at the moment, if there's any secret, then, the only secret is that we are really focusing on one step at a time and, doing our homework, trying to get the best out of the car every single time.
And finally, in rugby, the Bedford Blues lost by 27 points to 45 against Bristol in the Championship. BBC Three Counties News and Sport, more at 8.
Lee, you've made it.
I have. Have I?
I've had a tweet about you.
Oh, really?
Permission to sing it.
Go on then.
Lee Agnew, do push pineapple, shake the tree.
You haven't really got an email about that.
No, I've got. Scott has tweeted me with that.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, some people have got no lives. Does that fill you with a warm
That's
glow?
Almost a jingle.
There we go. Thank you very much indeed.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
When people start writing songs about you, even if it's 140 characters or less, you have been accepted and you have been welcomed. So embrace that. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. Coming up, we'll be celebrating the magic. Oh, I shivered with excitement there. One of the greatest television shows of all time is back, and it's being filmed in Luton. Sing Hosannas. We'll have the latest on that with Justin Dealey in a few minutes. We're also talking about tasers. More police in Milton Keynes will be having tasers from today. It sits uncomfortably with me, but I don't know why. I have no strong, sensible, rational argument on this one. It just makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. And I'm trying to work out why, and I'm trying to work out if I'm right. 08459 455 555. Does it make you feel uncomfortable? Or do you think the streets of Milton Keynes will be safer because the police have the ability to shock someone with 50,000 volts? We've already heard one story this morning from a mum whose bipolar son, who was in his early 20s, got zapped twice. 08459 455 555. And on the subject of smoking, if you've got young kids, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because smoking looks cool. There's no two ways around it. Kids are taken by the image, and the image of a man or a woman sucking on a stick and blowing out smoke. It looks cool, it looks mystical, it looks magical. You'll see, now it's misty, there'll be loads of kids on their way to school miming, I used to do miming, sucking on a cigarette with their fingers and then blowing out the smoke, the steam. The mist, what do you call it? Mist? Is it mist? Yeah, why not? Sure. 08459 455 555. What do I tell my kids to stop them? April's in Luton. Morning, April.
Good morning.
You have one young boy, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Was he 4.5?
He's 4.5.
I'm doing all the work for you here.
Yeah,
Good.
Yeah, he's 4.5.
He must have spotted it.
He has, yeah. He spots it a lot.
And what do you say to him?
Well, as soon as he started asking about smoking, we used to tell him the truth, which was that smoking kills. We used to showed him pictures of the damage it does to your lungs.
Yeah.
And when he asks why he doesn't have any granddads, we explain that's the reason.
Oh, blimey. But does a kid at 4, they don't understand what death is, do they? My boy talks about things dying and death and stuff. He doesn't know what it means. He doesn't know that he's not immortal at the moment.
I don't know. I think it's very different. I think it's when you know that all your other kids that you play with have a granddad, and then you don't have a granddad. You have to ask yourself, why don't I have a granddad? And when we explain he's died, and we have to explain them what death is, it's very difficult. I understand that. Yeah, it is a difficult thing.
Who's that with the cough in the background, April?
Not somebody who smokes, strangely.
Okay, well, good. Make sure they don't. April, thank you very much for that. Well, April's one of the ones that kind of tells the truth. And the truth is always the best thing to say to kids. I wonder if at 3.5, 4, though, telling them the gory details, if it's not too much, and if it will have an impact. Will it actually have an impact on them? 08459 455 555. Hey, kids, ITV are going to be filming Splash in Luton next year. Which is exciting news, I think. Great if you like seeing celebrity belly flops. Less great if you're a regular user of the town's brand new sports village. It's likely you'll be splashing somewhere else throughout January and February. Well, Luton Borough Council won't tell us how much revenue the deal generated for the town last time, but insists whatever money was made was poured back into facilities. Well, our water sports correspondent Justin Dealey is outside the Inspire Sports Village, where the show has been filmed and where the show will be filmed again. I'm excited, Justin. Are you happy about this?
Morning, boss. I'm very, very excited. I thought the TV show was absolutely brilliant. In my opinion, it puts Luton on the map. A prime-time programme, average audience, 5.6 million viewers. Tom Daly here in Luton. Z-list celebrities on diving boards. I just thought it was brilliant.
You say Z-list. I put my name up for it and I didn't get a call back.
Well, you never know. This year, it might be the year for you.
Seriously, I said to my agent, I hear it pays well, but investigate. Nothing back. Not a sniff.
The thing is, you'd probably do it for nothing because it looked great fun. It was great Saturday night fun TV. Certainly better than the X Factor.
Can I just say, if my agent or indeed anyone from ITV is listening, I would not do it for free. But I would do it for very cheap compared to the others. You've been talking to people. People are generally quite up for this, aren't they?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm here at the moment outside Inspire. First of all, the facilities here, Iain, absolutely superb. It opened last year. £26 million it cost. Some of the best diving facilities anywhere in the UK. I have been talking to people here about Splash coming back to Luton. Here's what people have had to say. Splash is coming back. Are you excited?
Very excited, yes.
Yeah?
I watched the first one, so that was good. Yeah, really good.
Puts Luton on the map?
It certainly does, and it's good for children. It's inspirational and encourages diving. He's just started dive gym. He's 3, so it's getting him thinking about diving and swimming, so it's all good.
So your young lad here, did he come diving off the back of watching that TV show?
Well, I think it certainly helped because he watched it and he was inspired by it.
This is great.
So he wanted to do diving, and he swims. Every week we go swimming. And so he does diving with David and Harry and in the dive gym, so hopefully soon we'll get him in the real pool, won't we, on the boards, Bob?
And Tom Daly in his Speedos, can you score him out of 10?
Probably, yeah, a 9.5.
You haven't seen me in my Speedos yet. Thank you very much.
See you later, bye.
Oh, I love Splash. It's exciting, you know, something different coming to the town. It's good, yeah. Bit of fun.
So you see this as fantastic news for Luton then?
Yes, it is. And anything good for Luton,
It's great. We need it.
What a lot of bubbly people there.
Absolutely. People certainly up for it, Ian.
But not everybody is up for it.
No. You're about to hear from Louise Moriarty. Louise has 3 children who swim for Team Luton. So when filming starts again for Splash in January, her 3 kids, they can't use the pool, which I can see here to my left-hand side, which looks great. They can't use that pool on a Friday or a Saturday. They're either setting up the studio or they're filming the programme. She's been telling me her reaction to the fact the TV show's coming back, and also the disruption that she faced last time it was here.
Well, they swim quite a lot, and they missed out on quite a lot of pool time, and obviously it's coming up to the county championships at that time as well, and we weren't refunded any of our money, which we obviously pay out quite a lot of money every month for them to use the pool. And although Luton Borough Council made money, we didn't get any money back.
So how much money are you paying every month then?
£110 a month we pay for them to swim at the pool.
Now, they couldn't use the pool, the Olympic swimming pool, on a Friday and a Saturday, could they?
Yeah, that's right, Friday. So we would miss out on the Friday training. My daughter swims for 2 sessions on a Friday morning and Friday evening. So obviously that's 2 sessions for however long it went on for, so we missed out on that.
And when you spoke to the powers that be and you said, look, I'm paying this fee every single month, we can't use the pool on a Friday or a Saturday, I think I deserve some money back. What did they say to you?
They said tough, and they promised us actually that some of the children could go on and visit. They were invited to Crystal Palace to meet Tom Daley, and then they cancelled at the last second and said that the children couldn't go after all. So, and it had already been arranged. Obviously, the children were excited.
How did your children feel about that?
Mine weren't personally involved, but a lot of the children from the club were, and they were really upset that they couldn't go.
So now it's coming back, you've heard the news, 8 weeks in January. What's your first thoughts on that, and be honest?
Well, I've heard that Luton Borough Council aren't disclosing how much money they're making.
No, they won't.
No. We're disappointed because, again, it's just before the county championships, which come up in February and March. And obviously our children are training hard for that. And so it will affect them, their training time, they'll lose that. And, if we're paying out for the pool, and then Luton Borough Council are making the money twice, aren't they?
I mean, Hazel Simmons, the leader of Luton Borough Council, I can guarantee you right now she will be listening to this. What is your direct message to her?
Well, to be fair to people that pay for it, and if people have paid to use the pool and they're making money, then they should refund some of the money back to us to compensate.
Would you care in the slightest that this big TV show is coming back to your town?
Well, I don't think it had any positive effect, really.
Well, we can put some of those points now to Trevor Holden, who's Chief Executive of Luton Borough Council. Trevor, will parents who are affected by this be getting any form of refund?
Ian, good morning. Well, first off, we've got a lot longer planning time this time. We're working with the clubs. I say we. Active Luton are working with the clubs to make sure that we can reschedule as far as we can reschedule to minimise the disruption. Last time it was much shorter notice period, and I'm not sure what arrangements Active Luton are putting in place for people who are disadvantaged.
Because it's not fair, is it? If someone like that lady who was speaking to Justin is paying £100 a month and not being able to get full use of the facilities, then logic would imply that she should get some form of cash back, shouldn't she?
Hey, I think you've got to look at, this is a £26 million facility, as you rightly said, opened last year, paid for by the people of Luton. And last year we had such an upsurge in use. This is all about health and activity for everybody across Luton. So the more people we can encourage, be they professional club swimmers or people who are just going along to get fitter,
yes.
And Splash is a really, really good way of promoting it.
But you seem to have very carefully avoided the question there. If she's spending £100 a month on her kids coming there and she's not getting full use of the facilities, then she should get some of the money back, shouldn't she?
No, I didn't avoid the question. I said right off from the start, Active Luton are planning to reschedule as much of the training facilities as possible. And I don't know what arrangements they've got in place with the individual clubs, but there's a much longer lead-in time to plan to just make sure the disruption is as minimal as possible.
Trevor, again, with the greatest respect, you are avoiding the question. I'll try it again. If that lady is paying £100 a month for her children to swim at that pool, and she is being denied access to that pool that she is paying for, then she is surely entitled to some... If she's not getting the service that she's paid for, then surely she's entitled to some form of money back, isn't she?
Ian, let me try again. £26 million pool, paid for by the people of Luton. This is a really, really good opportunity to get Luton on the map for all the right reasons.
Trevor, you're ignoring the question. You're ignoring. You're not answering the question.
And encourage people to use the facilities.
But they can't use the facilities at certain points.
If you just kind of bear with me a minute.
Well, if you answer the question, Trevor, let's see.
If Active Luton are planning, which they are, to minimise the disruption, that's a really good thing.
But there will be disruption that will affect them, so she should be receive some form of compensation for the disruption for a service that she is paid for and she's not getting.
I can't believe you're turning such a positive thing into a negative thing.
Trevor, I was going to... Trevor.
This is a really, really good thing for the town. Gets Luton on the map for all the right reasons.
Trevor.
And as I've said to you a couple of times, Active Luton are working with the clubs and the like.
Trevor.
I can't tell you the detail of that because I don't know.
You've obviously not been listening to the show. The whole morning we've been celebrating the Splash is coming back. This interview was going to be a whole celebration of the fact that Splash is coming back. But the fact that you have avoided answering one very, very simple question means that it hasn't been about that.
Hey, what about if I just put it to you again? Active Luton.
No, don't say the same thing, Trevor, because you're not saying anything. Trevor, Mr. Holden.
I don't know.
Mr. Holden.
Tell you what I don't know.
I will ask you the question. I'll ask you the question one more time, Mr. Holden.
It won't help me know the answer. I'm telling you.
You're not listening. You've not listened to the question, Mr. Holden. You've not listened to the question.
Say the question again slowly.
Okay, I will do, and really try and focus this time, Mr. Holden. If someone is paying £100 for a service they are not getting, then surely they are entitled to some form of cash back. I'm not asking about Active Luton. I'm not asking about what's happening. I'm asking that surely they're entitled to some form of recompense. That seems obvious in the world of business, doesn't it?
Yeah, I can't tell you what provision Active Luton...
I'm not asking what the provision is. Again, you're not listening. I'm asking surely the basic principle that they are entitled to some form of money back.
Yeah. There's plenty of time to plan this time to reduce the mitigation.
But Mr. Holden, if you're not going to answer the question, we'll have to end it here, I'm afraid.
Well, that's disappointing because this is a really, really good...
I know, and we've been celebrating it all morning, and your inability to answer one simple question about how your customers are affected is really disappointing.
Really, really good. This is going to be a really good event for the town.
Mr. Holden, we have been celebrating it this morning. We will continue to celebrate it this morning. But the fact that you are unable to address the concerns of your customers, your residents, your clients, I think is a little bit rude and a little bit arrogant, to be honest.
No, I don't think. I think I've been really, really clear.
You've not answered the question, Trevor.
Active Luton are planning to mitigate the impact as far as possible.
No, what you've said is Active Luton are going to offer the least disruption possible. You've not talked about the compensation for your customers.
I've also said I can't tell you what detailed arrangements are in place because I don't know the detailed arrangements.
That wasn't the question. That wasn't the question, Mr. Holden.
But I can't answer your question. I've told you that I don't know the answer.
Okay. Well,
what arrangements?
That wasn't, Mr. Holden. The question wasn't.
What I do know is.
I'm really sorry, Mr. Holden. We're not going to have the puff again. The question wasn't what arrangements are in place. The question is surely people are entitled. That was the question. It wasn't about what arrangements are in place. Well, Trevor, well done. Trevor Holden, Chief Executive of Luton Borough Council. You've turned what was a celebratory example of what is wonderful about Luton and the wonderful fact that we are attracting huge TV companies. You've turned that into something completely different, ignoring the concerns of your residents and your customers. Oh, dear. 08459 455 555. A little bit late. Let's get the travel.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The A418 in Bearton still partly blocked both ways. Police on the scene at Rosham Road directing traffic after an accident. The M25 anti-clockwise, you've got a breakdown. Recovering that now in the roadworks section Enfield to Potters Bar. On the trains, First Capital Connect, half-hour delays Stevenage to King's Cross and Welwyn Garden City to Moorgate. There was a broken down train at Alexandra Palace. Also a signalling problem at Hatfield affecting East Coast services as well. And East Midlands trains have problems up their lines with engineering works between Leicester and Market Harborough. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Adam, thank you very much indeed. You can have your say on what just happened. 08459 455 555. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. A leading care charity says the number of people getting home care visits for just 15 minutes at a time is rising. Another national task force is being launched today to tackle serious and organised crime. 08459 455 555. It's 7:50. Let's get the weather.
Beds, Herts and Bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
There's
There's a bit of mist and fog around this morning. The Met Office have a yellow weather warning in place. Visibility has been considerably reduced, but it will eventually lift. A rather grey day, but a warm day. The maximum temperature 18 Celsius. Now, overnight tonight, staying cloudy. 1 or 2 mist and fog patches likely, but a milder night. The minimum temperature down to 13 Celsius. And that's your forecast.
Tomorrow night, 2 of our local teams meet in the Johnson's Paint Trophy. Stevenage versus MK Dons.
Sends Day the wrong way, and that is game over now as far as Stevenage is concerned, I'm sure. MK Dons 4, Stevenage 1.
Plus, there's also Wycombe's tie at home to Bristol City.
Back in towards the box, Anthony Stewart there, wins ahead, a great goal. Wycombe lead 2-0.
And Luton's league match away to Aldershot.
That is a fantastic goal, and Mark Cullen's done it again.
All 3 games live in Three Counties Sport. Tomorrow night from 7 here on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Despite what you just heard, I'm genuinely excited that Splash is coming to town. I think it's a great TV show. I think it's brilliant for Luton, for Luton Borough Council. They'll be making a few quid out of it. Brilliant, wonderful, well done. And that whole interview was going to be a celebration of that. But the point has to be addressed that some people who have paid membership, quite expensive membership to that place, will not be getting full access to the facilities. So, obviously, those people are entitled to some form of compensation, aren't they? That seems an obvious thing. I wasn't asking what the compensation was going to be. I wasn't asking what rebates they get. I wasn't asking. Just wanted his opinion that surely they're entitled to something. And Mr. Holden turned it into something completely different. Never mind. Now, new parents in Wolverton will have to travel further for baby clinics following the closure of their local service. This has come despite the opening of a brand new health centre in the town, which it seems it has everything but baby clinics. Well, Claire Gartside is a new mum. Her baby is 16 weeks old. Morning, Claire.
Good morning.
Is this your first baby?
No, I've got a 6-year-old who's at school with Sarah's boys, but after a bad delivery with him, I've given it a bit of a rest.
Right, okay.
For having another. But because I had complications the first time, and now the second time, I have difficulty getting to a clinic, basically, from pretty much now onwards.
And so how is this going to impact on your life?
Well, basically, the clinics run first thing in the morning, in effect, after the school run. Fine, no problem. Except for those that haven't had a rest between babies, you've got to get a toddler along with you, which is quite often the case. If you've got a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, you know what dragging 2 of them is around like. And it's just a case of how do you get more than even... if you've got postnatal depression, how do you get out the house to go somewhere where you have to work out which Sure Start centre you're going to, which one is actually an option to get to? Are you able to stay and do other things afterwards if you've got a toddler? Because one centre in Wolverton, we can't stay and do things. At the other one, you can, but it's so oversubscribed, particularly if they're going to have a baby clinic there. How are we going to stay on to somewhere that hasn't got the room for us to stay? Quite often, you'll be telling a toddler, well, I'm sorry, I've got to... We'll go along, we'll get the baby weighed, but we'll stay on and do something special for you.
And this is the thing, isn't it? It's not just about it's not just about weighing babies, is it? There is so much more that goes on in these places that they're important to parents, to children, and to the community, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, basically, to be honest, I've actually been the volunteer at the baby clinic in between children, and I see the mums come in. They're watched by the health visitors. They can see so and so's not been for a while. Are they okay? They watch you and make sure you're handling things. They know which mums have been, which mums haven't. So they can keep an eye on you and make sure everyone's going well, basically. They know what's happening with the family backgrounds as well. If you have to think where to go, you're not going to turn up, and they're going to lose that vital monitoring space, in effect. They watch that you're looking after your baby right. They'll know, there's loads of mums they can manage. But there is a minority that can not know that they're doing something that they shouldn't.
I would say it's not necessarily a minority. Our first baby, we'd read the books. We didn't have a clue what we were doing. Claire, we've got to end it there. Thank you very much. Claire Gartside, new mum, baby's 16 weeks old. We can speak now to Kathy Walker, who's the Managing Director of Milton Keynes Community Health Services. Kathy, what's going on here?
Good morning, Iain. Thank you for asking me to speak to you this morning. Just to give you some background to what's actually happened here, we have been providing the baby clinics that Claire referred to in Wolverton for many years.
Why have you decided not to?
Well, we haven't decided not to yet. The building that the room is currently occupied in Wolverton Health Centre, is closing. There is a new building, as you've mentioned already, that is open.
And you've been offered a room in that, but according to Sarah Dockery from Wolverton's patient group, you've declined that room.
What happened was the original room that we had been offered, we were very happy with. The subsequent room, for a number of complex reasons, that room is no longer available. The new room we don't feel offers the best space available for us to be able to continue to deliver the clinic in the way that we have and in the way that Claire has described. What we'd planned to do is to transfer that particular clinic into 2 different health centres in the Wolverton area. 10 days ago we were contacted by the local councillor who said that a number of concerns had been presented by mothers and young parents in terms of whether or not those new clinics would be available and accessible for everybody. So we've already agreed that we will pause the move. So at the moment we are continuing to provide the service there while we have that discussion with people around, are these 2 new venues suitable for everybody? Do we need to look at an alternative?
So, sorry, are you saying that there is still possibly a chance that the baby clinic in Wolverton might stay there, might continue there permanently?
What we've said is that we're happy to have that conversation with everybody. For some people, and we have had this feedback already, for some people the 2 new facilities are more accessible. For others, they're less accessible. So we said we'll have that conversation. We don't know if we can access a room that will be suitable in Wolverton Health Centre.
Well, why is it unsuitable, the new room you've been offered? What's wrong with it?
It's too small.
Right, okay. And you do need space, of course.
And well, we do. And if we go back to what Claire was just saying a moment ago, at the moment people have a larger space where they can circulate and meet other parents. And that is one of the great things about the children's centres. Actually, these are purposely designed environments where people can also access other information like benefits, return to work information and meet other parents. So clearly it's really important. As you said, it's not just about going in and weighing a baby. It is about all the other services that come with that. So we do need to make sure that we've got a space that's suitable for toddlers and also for people to meet with each other.
Kathy, thank you very much for your time this morning. Kathy Walker, Managing Director of Milton Keynes Community Health Services. 08459 455 555. Despite talking to Mr. Holden earlier on, we're still celebrating the magic of Splash. Still very, very excited by it. I put myself up for it. I didn't get a call back. I'm not bitter. I'll still be watching it. Are you excited about Splash coming back? 08459 455 555. What do you say to your kids when they spot grown-ups smoking cigarettes? How do you stop it? It looks cool. Of course it looks cool to a 4-year-old. A grown man blowing smoke? How do you stop that? 08459 455 555. Let's get the travel now. Here's Adam.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Having a look at the speed sensors, it's slow going on the A1 from St Neots to the Black Cat roundabout. Delays on the A1M past Stevenage, almost back as far as Letchworth, looking slow now. And then the A1 into London is still busy in the usual spot through Bournemouth down toward Mill Hill Circus. If you're using the M1 this morning, it's a slow going prospect from Junction 11 at the A505 down toward 9 at Redbourne for the A5. And on the A5, as you go through Dunstable, and particularly as you go past Markyate, it's looking very, very busy. Leighton Buzzard a little bit slow on the A505. Problems on the A418 near Beerton. There's an accident. Police are still on the scene directing traffic both ways past that. If you're going across to the M11, queues after an accident earlier this morning, about 5 mile delay still from Stansted down toward Harlow. M25 anti-clockwise, 1 lane's closed in the roadworks section, a broken down vehicle still being recovered, and then it's very slow from the M1 round to the M40. Problems for First Capital Connect, 45-minute delay Stevenage to King's Cross and Welwyn Garden City to Moorgate. There was a broken down train at Alexandra Palace and a signalling problem at Hatfield. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Adam. This is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. More police in Milton Keynes from today will be carrying tasers. What do you think about that? Does that concern you at all? We'll speak more after the news with Lee.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 8 o'clock. I'm Lee Agnew. The headlines: concern about short home care visits, a new task force to tackle organised crime launches today, and parents upset about Wolverton baby clinic closure.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
A leading charity says the number of people having home care visits restricted to just 15 minutes has increased significantly. A survey has found that 2/3 of councils allow 15-minute visits, despite concerns they're not long enough. The chief executive of Leonard Cheshire Disability, Claire Pelham, says those most in need are being let down.
We're treating disabled and older people as if they're robots to be serviced, rather than real people who deserve to be treated with kindness and consideration. And it's simply not possible to support somebody to get dressed, have a bath and have breakfast in 15 minutes. It just isn't.
A new organisation is being launched this morning to tackle the threat from organised criminal gangs. The National Crime Agency will also deal with border policing, child protection and cybercrime. Ollie Martins, the Police and Crime Commissioner for Bedfordshire, says he welcomes the support the NCA will provide, but isn't expecting any major changes.
This is really a rebranding exercise. And, you know, it is a bit of a concern that the NCA is going to be operating with less of a budget than the agencies it's taking over from had. So, you know, I don't think the change is going to be that dramatic.
More police officers in Milton Keynes will be carrying tasers from today. Up until now, only firearms officers have been allowed to use the devices. Graham Smith from the Thames Valley Police Federation says tasers stop them using more force than is necessary.
Actually pointing the red dot on somebody's torso, if they've got a knife or whatever weapon or whatever the situation is, resolves the situation without actually using any other force. You know, if we don't have them, we'd have to strike them with batons, use CS gas, etc., which could cause more trauma to them.
New parents in Wolverton will have to travel outside the town after a decision to close its baby clinic. The community health team has decided not to base itself in the town's new health centre. Another series of the TV show Splash with Tom Daley will be filmed in Luton. It means another 2 months of disruption at the Inspire Sports Centre in Stopsley. But Trevor Holden, the chief executive of Luton Borough Council, told Iain Lee the show gives a big boost to sports in the town.
Last year we had such an upsurge in use. This is all about health and activity for everybody across Luton. So the more people we can encourage, be they professional club swimmers or people who are just going along to get fitter, and Splash is a really good way of promoting it.
In sport, Arsenal are top of the Premiership on goals scored after a 1-1 draw against West Brom. In Formula 1, Sebastian Vettel remains on course to become world title for a fourth time after winning the Korean Grand Prix. The weather for beds, odds and bugs will be misty at first, but staying dry and sunny throughout the day. Top temperatures around 20 degrees Celsius, 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Get the latest news and sport online at bbc.co.uk/3 counties.
We have just had the most inappropriate conversation ever downstairs. I won't even hint at what it was. Suffice to say, well, the office will have heard at least one side of it. Very. We were questioning the existence of the ego and the id, dear listener, in slightly base ways, but we were doing it. Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC Three Counties Radio. It's been a feisty show today. Very feisty. There's an hour left to go. If you want to take part in the feist, you're more than welcome to. Today, more police officers on the streets of Milton Keynes will be carrying tasers. Does that make you feel safer? Or does it slightly concern you? Splash is back. And despite having a cob on after speaking to a local councillor, I'm still excited by it. It is a wonderful thing, I think. Do you agree, or are you one of those people who's going to lose some of your access to the facilities? And we'll talk to Dealey about, I don't know, something. Him, probably. Facebook.com/BBC3CR. You can send me a text, 81333. Start your text 3CR. Or you can give me a call, 08459 455 555.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Well, the police having tasers... normally, when I talk about something, I kind of have a strong opinion either way. Sometimes I play the impartial game, what we are supposed to do here at the BBC. I always find that a little bit tricky. And I quite often know what my feelings are and why I have them. Well, in this case, the case of more police officers having tasers in Milton Keynes, I feel uncomfortable with it. It makes me feel... uncomfortable, that's the only word. But I don't know why. I have no empirical evidence, I have no facts, I have no data to back that up. I don't even have a particularly strong argument. Just feel a little uncomfortable. Well, I'm here until 9 o'clock. Maybe you could help me sort out my feelings. 08459 455 555. Kazi's in Letchworth. Morning, Kazi.
Good morning.
What are your thoughts on tasers, the police having tasers? Does it make you feel safer?
I think you're feeling uncomfortable, as you just said, quite rightly. It does make me feel uncomfortable, but the police, if they're trained to use them in the right conditions, I don't think it's a problem. I think the police should have something to give some of these confrontational criminals something to fear. I think it's important that the police can protect themselves. If you did 2 weeks' work with the police and you met up with some of these criminals that they have to deal with, I think you'd want to have something to protect yourself. If I'm walking alone at night myself and I've got to walk down a dark alley that's not lit, I would love to be able to carry something to protect myself.
You don't want a taser, do you, Casey?
I would carry one if it was the law and I was allowed to. Yeah.
Really?
I would use it. Yeah, I would.
Well, if you want the police then to have tasers, why not just go the whole hog and give them guns, Kazi?
Because guns kill, tasers don't. Tasers are something the criminals have there to fear. It's something to fear. It's like a child being disciplined. Years ago, we were allowed to smack our children, and they feared that.
You didn't want to taser them, did you, Kwasi?
Oh, no. But if you've got a criminal in a situation where he's holding somebody hostage or something like that, then something's got to be done before that victim is hurt badly.
Well, we've got to end it there. That's Kirsty in Letchworth. Thank you very much for that. 08459 455 555. What do you think? Do you agree with Cassie there? Does that make sense, her argument? Well, the reason we're talking about this is because from today, more police officers in Milton Keynes will be equipped with tasers. Part of a rollout across Thames Valley Police to increase the number of officers trained to use the equipment, which stuns someone with 50,000 volts of electricity to figures in line with the national average. Well, Niall Cooper is from Amnesty International. Niall, Amnesty are concerned about the use of tasers. Tell me why.
The big thing really goes back to, your previous caller just touched on it a little bit, but it was the level of training. That's our big concern. As you mentioned there, the taser isn't like a little tingle you get from an electric fence. I think a lot of people have got that wrong misconception. It's a 50,000 volt assault weapon that in the States has been connected with a number of deaths. So to say that there isn't a potential for disaster to happen would be wrong, because there is. And obviously you'd want that sort of weapon to be in the hands of the most highly skilled, trained officers. When a taser was first introduced to the UK, it was introduced as almost as a replacement for a firearm. So for that reason, Amnesty International is calling for all officers that carry a taser to have the same level of training as a firearms specialist. That is far, far from the case now.
What kind of training do they get, and what sort of training would you like them to have?
At the moment, they get 3 days' worth of training, which is relatively good, and 1 day refresher. When I say relatively good, it's good if that training was then continued to the same amount of training as a firearms officer gets. A firearms officer gets months and months of training. My concern would be, I'll just take you back to, I don't know, the last time you did a training course, or some of the people listening to this programme did a training course, could be on project management or, I don't know, PowerPoint. How much do you remember of that training 6 months down the line? The difference here is that you're not talking about putting up a nice presentation in front of, I don't know, some of your directors or something like that. You're talking about handling a potentially lethal weapon. If you make a mistake, the consequences are disastrous. And my big concern to all the policemen that are going on the streets, all the people that have got that new taser on their belt as they walk around the streets of Milton Keynes today, if they make a mistake, if something goes wrong, because they haven't had that level of training, that seems really like a huge mistake.
But it isn't as and you say that the people have died in the States. I don't think there's any evidence that actually proves that, does it? It's not as dangerous as carrying a proper gun. It does stun people. So do they really need that much training? If it makes the police and it makes the public safer, then surely they should be carrying it, shouldn't they?
One of the things I'd like to add to that, I mean, it's all about that level of training and mistakes. Some mistakes that have happened. There are some quite noticeable mistakes that have happened already with taser use in the UK, which is significantly less than in the States. The kind of mistakes that have happened is there was a 61-year-old blind man called Colin Farmer walking down the street, and the police officers mistook his blind man's cane for a samurai sword and tasered the guy. The guy, Colin Farmer, then described what had happened to him, what it felt like. So it felt like his liver was feeling like electrocuted. It went up through his kidneys and then into his brain. It felt like he was being electrocuted to death. These are his words, not mine. He described the whole experience as barbaric. That's what a taser's like. It's not something, you know, if it happens to you and it's because of a mistake, those sort of things are things that really worry me.
Niall, thank you very much. Niall Cooper from Amnesty International. We're joined by Bernard Ricks, who's worked as a police advisor across the country and has previously investigated the introduction of new police equipment. It's barbaric, Bernard. These things are barbaric.
Well, I think if you go back 20 years, the police officers just had a wooden truncheon that they carried as part of their public safety equipment. What we've got now are a number of other items. We've got the batons that came in the early 90s. We've got CS spray that came in the late 90s. We've now got tasers as well. They're all tools, they're all parts of the police officer equipment that are there for certain different types of situation. And they're there not just to make the police officer safer in what they're doing, but make the public safer as well.
There's a lot of mistrust around the police at the moment in terms of two big stories that spring to mind are Plebgate and Hillsborough. I would imagine that lots of people don't particularly want people that aren't necessarily trusted to be armed with something that shoots 50,000 volts.
The vast majority of police officers are absolutely fit for purpose in what they do. They are entirely to be trusted, and of course they do receive training as well in each of these items. Niall just there referred to the 3 days training that police officers get in.
He says that's not enough. He'd like to see more. What do you think about that?
It's interesting. Kirsty's views just a little earlier. She was saying that guns kill, tasers don't. Which of course is absolutely critical to the reason behind tasers being carried. Police officers are very extensively trained in the complete safety equipment that they carry, whether it be taser, baton, CS spray, and that's there to ensure that both police officers and members of the public are much safer than in the days when they just were able to carry a wooden truncheon.
Bernard, I appreciate your time this morning. Always good to talk to you. Thank you. Bernard Ricks worked as a police officer, a police advisor across the country. What do you think? It sits uncomfortably with me, and I don't quite know why. Am I just being a little silly sausage? I grew up when the coppers weren't armed. They had a truncheon and some handcuffs and a whistle. And that was it. And we kind of prided ourselves that we weren't like the Americans, we weren't like some of those Continentals, in that we didn't have armed police. Well, now we kind of do have armed police. 11% of the police are carrying tasers. I was with a Japanese friend yesterday. We went to Windsor. Oh, Windsor, very, very nice, very posh. And we were going to go to the castle. There's too big a queue. It's all the blooming tourists. But she was surprised to see... Yes, you should book ahead. She was surprised to see a copper with a machine gun She's like, oh, blimey, a copper with a machine gun in England. I said, well, she's not been in England for a long time. That's kind of what happens now. I feel a little uncomfortable about the police having tasers, but I don't know why. Can you sway me either way on this one, please? I'm keen to hear your opinions and your stories on this. 08459 455 555. I'm Iain Lee. This is BBC Three Counties Radio. It's 8:15 exactly. Let's get the travel news now.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Cheers, Ian. I'm starting with a look at the trains. First Capital Connect, 45-minute delays. Stevenage to King's Cross and Welwyn Garden City to Moorgate. Firstly, there was a broken down train at Alexandra Palace. They have moved that, but there's now a signalling problem at Hatfield. That's also causing 20-minute delays for East Coast services running Peterborough to King's Cross. And East Midlands trains have issues up their lines. Overrunning engineering works Leicester to Market Harbour, causing some late running services to and from St Pancras. On the roads, it's still very busy around Wing and Wingrave. We had problems early this morning near Bearton on the A418. That is now clear. The accident's gone, but you can still expect delays, particularly as you go down toward Aylesbury. It's looking a little bit slow as well as you go in toward Buckingham. The A421 slow up to the total roundabout. M1 is slow moving southbound from junction 11 at the A505 toward 9 at Redbourne. Busy on the A5 through Dunstable and through Markyate down toward the M1. The A1M is very busy from junction 10 at Baldock all the way down to 7 at Stevenage. Then slow again as you go into London Stirling Corner to Mill Hill Circus. Looking to the speed sensors around Bedford and some delays on the Bromham Road. Also looking a little bit busy from Oakley down toward Bedford this morning. The A6 busy through Clop Hill, as is the A507. The 602 round Hitchin not looking too bad. Going into London then, M25 first off, we've got anti-clockwise delays. There was a broken down vehicle between Enfield and Potters Bar in the roadworks. That's gone, but the queues are still there. And it's very slow from the M1 through to the M40. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much, Adam. It's 8:16. It's Monday the 7th of October. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Another national task force is being launched today to tackle organised crime. A leading care charity says there is a rising number of people getting home care visits lasting just 15 minutes. And a new series of Splash with Tom Daley will be filmed at Luton Swimming Pool. The weather will be misty at first, but dry and sunny throughout the day. And coming up, schools have been accused of teaching on the cheap by using unqualified staff to take lessons. We'll be speaking to the Association of Teachers and Lecturers in the last half an hour of the programme. 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio. Roberto Perrone on BBC Three Counties Radio.
If you're at home, sit back, because this is going to be very, very interesting. You've got the selfie, the legsy, the bumsy.
You're going to start that trend.
Roberto Perrone.
We seem to be heading headlong into war again.
We're very keen to stop this from happening.
We don't know where this might lead. The lie that took us into the Iraq War could become a shocking truth in this one.
Roberto Perrone. Weekdays from 3 on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Now, Jonathan Vernon-Smith is off. I go away for a week. I'd lost my voice, Ollie, which is very painful in this business.
Well, you'd never know it now.
Yeah, exactly.
What beautiful sonorous radio tones you have.
I don't have my falsetto, though.
Is that right?
Yeah, I can't do the high register.
You'd be no good at Three Counties boot camp.
Exactly, you see. Well, Jonathan Vernon-Smith has gone off on yet another holiday. Ollie Mann is sitting in from. Nice to meet you. I've listened to you. Your watch is too big. What's going on with that?
Well, it's not too big. It makes me look a bit thinner. That's the idea.
Oh, I see.
Visual trickery.
That's what it's doing. You do look very thin these days.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on a second. Now I can't see the watch.
Yeah.
Ollie, I've listened to you in various other places. It's exciting. Is this your first time here?
This is my... Actually, it's my second time in the building.
Oh, I see.
Because I did come and promote a book that I wrote in 2010 on a drive time show here.
Well, they obviously remembered you.
That's it, yeah. Must be that.
3 years later. Who was that guy we had in with that book 3 years? Ollie Mann, let's get him in.
He's the obvious person.
It'll be worth a punt.
Yeah.
What have you got on the show today? What's coming up?
Well, I am filling in for JVS and I'm doing it properly. I get to sound his horn later, which is a great privilege, obviously.
It is an honour to play with his horn.
Yes. So I'll be doing the Consumer Champion stuff after 11. Looking forward to that. But of course, it's the big phone in at 9. And this morning morning we're going to be discussing, well, what you've been talking about on the show this morning
Splash.
as well. Yeah, indeed, yeah. Should we have Splash? No, serious subject, Ian. We're going to be talking, do you think we need more police armed with tasers? From this morning, more police officers in Milton Keynes will be equipped with tasers. Thames Valley Police are increasing the numbers of officers trained to use the equipment, which is capable of stunning people with 50,000 volts of electricity. And before today, only firearms officers were allowed to use them. So that's what we're going to be asking you today. Do you think we need more police armed with tasers? You can call 08459 455 555. You can text 81333. Email the usual email address, jvsshow@bbc.co.uk. But because I'm not actually JVS,
Yes.
even though I get his horn, you can tweet me personally. I'm at Ollyman, OLLYMANN.
I filled in for Jonathan once, which is how I tricked myself into this gig. And I'm a big fan of the Consumer Hour, but you know that you actually have to make those phone calls to those companies.
I think I might, because this is the BBC, in full disclosure, I think I might be passing some of that on to the team.
Really?
Only because I can't follow every single call that I do because I'm not going to be here next week.
They made me phone up. Shameful. Ollie, thank
I'm
you very
laughing
much.
at you.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
It'll be well worth a listen, let me tell you that. 08459 455 555 is the phone number if you want to give me a call, or indeed Ollie a call this morning. He puts up a good argument as well. Don't think you're getting JVS light. Oh, au contraire, au contraire. Now, schools have been accused of teaching on the cheap by using unqualified staff to take lessons. According to the Association of Teachers and Lecturers, assistants as well as cover supervisors are being drafted in to take classes rather than bringing in fully qualified teachers. Well, Peter Morris is from ATL and he joins me now. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning.
Peter, what exactly is going on?
Well, I would refer yourself and your listeners to our survey, which can be seen online at atl.org.uk, and you'll see the stark numbers. We've conducted a very comprehensive survey of our support staff members, and even we were surprised at the level of inappropriate cover that's going on in schools.
Well, so for those who don't have access to it, some of my listeners, what exactly do those figures say? What kind of figures are we talking about here?
Well, we're talking about a majority of cover supervisors saying that they actually teach lessons. In their definition, they are de facto teachers for at least some of the working week, and that is just not on. They're not qualified teachers, yet schools are using them, and we would say exploiting them, because they're obviously paid a lot less than a qualified teacher. So that's the level of the problem, really, and that's throughout the country.
So what are you concerned about, Peter? Are you concerned that these cover teachers are being exploited, or are you concerned that the pupils won't be getting the full benefit of a fully knowledgeable teacher?
We're concerned about both. As ATL, we are the education union, and we represent the support staff, and we also represent teachers, but we're also always conscious of the interest of pupils, because that's what education is all about. So pupils are being shortchanged in the sense of they're not always being taught by a qualified teacher, and that is something we believe that a lot of parents and even school governors are unaware of. But also our support staff members are literally being shortchanged. They can earn as little as £300 a week, and yet they're being put in a position where they're expected to deliver lessons, mark, prepare lessons, etc., etc. They are quasi-teachers. Well, they are teachers in all but name, and that just has to be wrong as well.
In terms of the effect it's having on the pupils, with the national curriculum, teaching's quite easy, isn't it? Isn't it? You just read a chapter from a book and you're pretty much told what to do, aren't you?
Oh, if only it was as easy as that, then that would be great, wouldn't it? But I'm afraid that isn't the case. Teaching requires you need to be qualified and trained, and you need the classroom experience of dealing with classes of upwards of 30 or more children in terms of their individual needs and requirements, and ensuring that they get the best possible value out of their school day and their school life. The idea that it's just about reading out of a book, I think you may get some feedback on that from some of your listeners. That's all I can say. I'm sure they will very strongly disagree with you on that point.
Peter, thank you very much for your time this morning. Peter Morris from ATL.
Call 08459 455 555.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
From today, more police officers in Milton Keynes will have tasers. I think it's about 11% of the police population will have tasers. It sits uncomfortably with me. I don't know why, but it does. Something about it doesn't feel quite right. What do you think? Is it going to make you feel safer? Will you feel any safer knowing more police in MK have got tasers? Or do you think we're going a little bit too far? 08459 455 555. Joy's in Leagrave. Good morning, Joy.
Good morning, everybody. Nice to hear you back.
Oh, look at Joy speaking to me and indeed her fans. Joy, it's nice to be back. It's so I hate taking time off work because I'm poorly. It's so frustrating. And I didn't even feel very ill. I had a headache, but it was just that I didn't have a voice.
I can't imagine you sitting at home, you'd be jiggling everywhere.
Oh, I was jiggling, all right.
Poorly.
Yeah, I couldn't stop jiggling. That was part of the problem. Joy, listen, tasers. Do you feel safer knowing that more police will be carrying tasers today?
No, not really. Not really. I don't think they should start. I think it's the start of something else, and it gets worse, and it gets stolen, and other people would use them. When we were young, my sister and I, we lived in South Wales, in villages, coming back from our sort of once a month a dance in the town hall.
Oh, yes.
The way it was.
You were jiggling about, yes.
Yeah. Well, coming home, my grandma used to always say, now, it's dark, it's coming late, there are no taxis, no this, no that, and everything else. And we used to have to put a big hat pin in our lapel.
Oh, right.
Grandma used to say. So you put it in, so all you'd see was a little head in the corner. And if ever you had a problem, physically you'd never manage, but you could always prick this great big hat pin out of your lapel when you come up from a dance, and you could use it if necessary.
So it was like an old-fashioned rape alarm. You'd stab them. Where would you stab them, Joy, or shouldn't I ask?
Oh, anywhere I could get, I tell you. I don't think you'd have time to stop think about it, would you?
Did you ever have to use the hat pin?
No. Grandma says you warn them first and do it after. But anyway, nothing ever did happen. But It was nice to know you weren't physically equipped and you had something to help you.
So are you suggesting, Joy, that the police should have hat pins? Is that what you're saying? Is it?
Good, won't it?
It'll be good, wouldn't it? Okay. If you don't stop messing around, young man, I'm going to stab you with my hat pin. It might work. It might be a more peaceful solution. Joy, thank you very much. Indeed, we're getting some cracking calls this morning. There's another 30-odd minutes left if you want to take part. 08459 455 555 is the phone number. We're also talking about Splash, which is coming to Luton. I had a conversation with a member of Luton Borough Council. It should have been a joyful celebration of what's going on, but it turned instead to him not acknowledging that if people are paying for a service, i.e. the club members, people who are paying for their children to swim there and aren't having access to it at all times, and obviously they deserve some form of compensation or rebate. Let's have a look at the Facebook comments. Facebook.com/BBC 3CR. Lisa Philberg says utter rubbish, but a little bit stronger. Jonathan says it's great for the town, but I think it's a little extreme branding it as the greatest show of all time. There's lots of other shows that would take the title. Name one. Name one show, Jonathan, that's greater than Splash. Seriously. I don't think you can. He continues, I think you're deliberately looking to start a pointless debate. Well, pointless debate? What on earth are you talking about? No, why would we do such a thing? Ali says, one of the greatest television shows of all time. Says who? Ali, Jonathan, listen, it's all well and good you denying the facts that this is the greatest show of all time. Put up something that's better. So tell me one programme that's better than Splash. I dares ya. Tarquin says, why bother? It's rubbish. 08459 455 555 is the phone number. Carolyn very quickly says, I saw some of it last year. May watch this shows, depending on the celebs. Would definitely watch if Iain was diving. And it does put Luton in the headlines. Good luck to all involved. Thank you, Carolyn.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Delays on the A1, first off at the Black Cat roundabout going down toward there from St Neots, then a reasonably clear run past Sandy and Biggleswade, but it slows up as you go past Stotfold at junction 10 down towards Stevenage at junction 7. Looking a little slow in Clop Hill on the A6 and on the A507, it's busy. The M1 is looking slow, particularly as you go past Luton. The A5, I would say, is probably looking a bit busier from Dunstable down toward Markyate and then joining the M1 at junction 9. Still slow through Wing and Wingrave after we had the problems in Bearton on the A418 earlier this morning. The accident there is gone, but some of the delays remain. Slow on various stretches of the A414, particularly into and out of Hertford. A little bit busy around London Coney as well. M25, you've got delays this morning anti-clockwise. We had a breakdown in the roadworks section. That's been moved, but it's still slow. And then it's busy as you continue round from the M1 to the M40. If you're travelling by train, First Capital Connect, 45-minute delays, Stevenage to King's Cross and Welwyn Garden City to Moorgate. This is signalling problems at Hatfield, also affecting East Coast, King's Cross to Peterborough, and East Midlands trains have separate issues. Overrunning engineering works between Leicester and Market Harborough means some services are running late to and from St Pancras. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Across beds, hearts and bugs.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's 8:30. I'm Lee Agnew. The headlines: a new organisation is being launched to tackle the threat from organised criminal gangs. The National Crime Agency will also deal with border policing, child protection and cybercrime. New parents in Wolverton will have to travel outside the town after a decision to close its baby clinic. The community health team has decided not to base itself in the town's new health centre. And another series of the TV show Splash with Tom Daley will be filmed in Luton. It means another 2 months of disruption at the Inspire Sports Centre in Stopsley. The weather will be misty at first, but staying dry and sunny throughout today. Top temperatures around 20 degrees Celsius, that's 68 degrees Fahrenheit.
Three Counties Sports.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
The Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger says his side showed real character coming back from a goal down to draw 1-1 at West Brom and move top of the Premier League table. The Gunners' equaliser was scored by Hertfordshire's Jack Wilshere.
We started the second half maybe a bit slow and they had a few opportunities where, if it's 2-0 it's tough to come back. We held in there and we defended well, and with half an hour to go we nicked a goal, and then we thought we could win this. We had a few chances, but at the end of the day I think the point's fair.
Luton Town says it needs the support of all their fans if they're to gain promotion this season. The Hatters invited a supporter into their after-match huddle following the 4-3 win over Halifax on Saturday. Coach Hakan Haretin explains why they allowed Mark Baldwin to be there.
We have an ethos that if we're going to do something, we need everybody on side. The supporters, and John instills this in every team that he goes to. The person that sells the tickets, the person that cleans the turnstiles, everybody's got to be singing off the same sheet, and that includes the supporters. We want them behind us 100%. If we're going to be successful, they've got to play their part. And we're just showing them that we appreciate everything they do for us on a Saturday and a midweek game. So, they play their part.
And the Hatters are now preparing for tomorrow's conference trip to Aldershot. The MK Dons and Stevenage, who both lost on Saturday, are getting ready for their JPT Cup showdown, while Wickham take on Bristol City. Sebastian Vettel has extended his lead to 77 points in the Drivers' Championship after winning the Korean Grand Prix. If he wins the Japanese Grand Prix and Fernando Alonso finishes 9th or lower, he'll win the world title for the 4th time. But Christian Horner from the Milton Keynes-based Red Bull team says he's not getting carried away just yet.
If the moon and the stars line up and he wins the race and Fernando finishes 9th or lower, then theoretically, yes, he could win the championship. But our approach in Suzuka will be exactly the same as it's been at all the other races this year, to go there to get the best out of ourselves, out of the car, out of the drivers, and then the championship tables tend to take care of themselves.
And finally, in rugby, the Bedford Blues lost by 27 points to 45 against Bristol in the championship yesterday. BBC Three Counties News and Sport, more at 9 o'clock.
Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Iain Lee.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Morning. My voice is a little bit croaky. It doesn't have the full power and the full range, but it's back. I hate taking time off work because I'm poorly, and I will normally come in under pretty much any circumstance. But I had literally no voice last week for a couple of days, and the remaining days it was very husky. But it's the strangest sensation. And I went to the walk-in doctor in the laryngitis. You see, in the past they've given me antibiotics. Oh, none of that now. Wouldn't give me any this week. No, we'll let's give it another. How long will this last? Could be another 2 to 3 weeks. I don't get paid if I don't work. Oh well. Thanks for coming. Bye. Cheers, guys. Last 30 minutes of the show before Ollie Mann sitting in for JVS. We will be talking about Splash. You excited about Splashback? Talking about all kinds of things. We're also talking about tasers. More police in Milton Keynes now, as of today, will be armed with tasers. Makes me feel uncomfortable. But I don't know why. Dennis is in Dunstable. It's another thing that makes me feel uncomfortable. Good morning, Dennis.
It's lovely to hear your dulcet tones. We really missed you.
Oh, well, if I believed you, Dennis, I would be grateful. You sound a little bit bunged up. Are you all right?
No, it's like I've not rolled out of bed very long, actually.
Oh, I say.
However,
living the Playboy lifestyle.
I agree with you.
Oh.
Which is that we should have put the flags up for that to start with.
Blimey.
Tasers. Yeah. The police are getting overarmed. They can't move very fast. They've got a stab vest on. They've got God knows how many bits of things hanging on. They're now issuing them with iPads so they can write their reports while they're out on the road.
The police are walking around with iPads?
Yeah. They can now enter their paperwork while they're still out on the road.
No, I don't. I do not believe, Dennis. You must have got this wrong.
They were showing it the other night. That's another one. So what's the next thing? A bazooka? They can't move very fast. That's why they're going to have to use tasers. They won't be able to chase anybody. They can't fight very well because they've got so much stuff around them. I
wonder what the rules are. Whether you can taser somebody in the back, because that would be. If someone is turning and running away and they're doing it simply because they can't catch them, because they're overweight or they're carrying all these bits and pieces, that seems a little bit unfair.
Hit them in the buttocks. That'll frighten the life out of them.
It might be quite pleasant as well.
This is what's happening. I mean, at my age, it was a policeman with a big stick, and they were a lot bigger.
Yep. Police are tiny these days. You get tiny women and short, fat men.
That's right. And they can't move fast to start with. So in the end, they're bound to stand there and shoot somebody because they can't do anything about it.
What about the argument, Dennis, that we have heard this morning? It will make people safer. It will make you safer because criminals will be more reluctant to act if they know that the police have got tasers.
No, will it? Somebody will invent a vest now, perhaps lead inside, so the tasers don't do any damage at all. But the other thing is, Ian, what would happen with somebody who's got a pacemaker in? What effect would that have? A shot like that?
Oh, I don't know.
There's a lot of people with pacemakers who are all quite young. I don't mean they've got to be ancient to have pacemakers. Have they done any research on that? How many people have they shot who's died because their pacemaker's blown up?
Dennis, it's a good question. I don't know. There will be research in this, and maybe if you keep listening to Ollie after 9 o'clock, that information may be forthcoming. Ollie, ask someone what happens if they got pacemakers in, please. I'm keen to know. Thank you. We're talking about Splash as well. Splash, the wonderful, and my tongue is not in my cheek, dear listener, a wonderful TV show. I would say one of the best TV shows of all time. It's great family entertainment. It had wonderful viewing figures. It's back for a second series. It's back in Luton. And for the most part, this morning, we've been celebrating it, genuinely celebrating it. We'll speak to Justin Dealey later on, who's been out and about getting your opinions on it. We have heard one or two voices, who are slightly unhappy. We spoke to one mum. She's got 3 kids. They're members of the pool. 100 quid a month. 100 quid a month. And she won't get full access to the pool. Well, obviously, she has to be entitled to some form of rebate, doesn't she? We spoke to Trevor Holden earlier on, Chief Executive of Luton Borough Council. He avoided the question slightly, I think. Akbar's in Luton. Good morning, Akbar.
Good morning, Ian. Good to have you back.
Thank you. What's your take on all this Splash?
Well, Splash is a wonderful program. It's watched in my house, and we all enjoy it. Secondly, the woman deserves some kind of relief from either from the council or from this institution, because she is not utilising it according to the terms and the conditions of her membership.
It seems obvious to me. If you're paying for a service and you are not fully getting that service, then you deserve some money back. Of course you do.
Yes, of course you do. And the third thing is that there's no need for you to feel any defensive about your conversation with Mr. Holden, who was very evasive and I would say rude in while he was not trying to address the issue. I mean, the issue is straightforward. The woman deserves some kind of relief, and it is a yeah or no sort of a question, and he did everything in the world to avoid the question, and that's very regrettable. He is a chief executive of a borough council, and I hope that he is decently paid to do a decent job.
It's a shame because the rest of that interview, it was just that one question that had perhaps not even a negative slant. It was inquisitive on behalf of my listeners. The rest of the interview was going to be celebratory about how wonderful it is for Luton, how wonderful it is that such a fantastic sporting facility that's here in the three counties is going to be seen by 6, 7, 8 million people a week. But unfortunately, Mr. Holden was so adamant he would avoid that question that he wouldn't allow the interview to develop. Akbar, thank you very much indeed. If you missed the interview, you can always listen again on the BBC iPlayer. You go to BBC iPlayer, look for Iain Lee, it pops up, and you can listen again. And no doubt, I'm sure, the interview with Mr. Holden will find its way onto the podcast this week. And I've spoken to Trevor before, we've always got on particularly well. It's just sometimes you have to answer the question. Well, have a listen. Have a listen back on iPlayer and have a listen to the podcast at the end of the week and let me know. Maybe he did answer the question and my ears were sealed. If you want to get in touch with me anyway, at any point during the show or out of hours, you can do. We get lots of our stories from you, or maybe you want to pick me up on something I said or something I didn't say. Then do send me an email. I don't reply to all of them because I don't always have time. I try to, but I don't always. But I do read them all, and if I think someone else needs to read them as well, then I'll forward them on to the relevant parties. You can email me, Iain.lee, IAIN.LEE, at bbc.co.uk, and it can be an idea for a story. It can be something you want to pick me up on. It can be anything. Don't pat me on the back. I get uncomfortable with pats on the back. It makes me very anxious, so don't do that. But if you want to have a go, I'm there. Glenn is in his car. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning, Iain.
Glenn, what's your take on tasers?
I think a lot more police should have them.
Go on, why?
Well, look what's happened in Luton. Look what's happened in Milton Keynes. Look what happened to those 2 police officers when they went to attend that incident and they got shot and blown up.
Yep.
Had they got some tasers or something like that, they may have survived. And we're too soft. I know you're against it, but when you think what goes on and what people get away with, why shouldn't they get a blast of 50,000 volts? At least it'll bring them down and they can be arrested and locked up.
The situation in Manchester where the 2 police officers were killed, they were killed with gunfire and grenades, weren't they? A taser wouldn't have had any effect there, would it?
But it might have done if they'd have seen what was going on. They were unarmed. Them police officers were totally unarmed. It didn't matter what they were shot with, a bow and arrow. They were doomed. But had they gone in with tasers loaded, their experience, at least they could have taken one out or whatever.
The situation you referred to in Luton, the gun crime that seems to have calmed down now, which is great, but was we were talking about every week on this show earlier in the year.
That's
and it was,
right, yes.
But again, the police weren't there for a lot of the gun crime. So how would the police having tasers have stopped that, have brought that to a halt?
Well, I used Luton as an example of the terror that people are going through. I think if there are more police officers visible with tasers, I think there'd be a few different attitudes. That's my personal opinion.
No, listen, Glenn, you've got me slightly wrong. I'm not against it. It makes me feel uncomfortable, and that's all I've got at the moment. I don't know if I'm for or against at the moment. I just feel uncomfortable, and I'm trying to work out why, and I'm trying to get both sides of the argument to this. So thank you very much for your opinion, Glenn. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
There we go, Glenn. I'm not against it. I don't think. It's a weird one. I just feel uncomfortable about it, which would imply, I suppose, that I'm part of me is perhaps against it. That more police officers having tasers, it doesn't excite me. My initial reaction is not one of, yes, this is great news. In your face, criminals, not necessarily in your face, it's probably illegal. In your chest, criminals, crime's going to come down and we're going to teach you a lesson. That's not my initial reaction. My initial reaction is a feeling of, ooh, feel a bit uncomfortable. And I don't know why. I don't know why. So I need your help. 15 minutes left of this show. Ollie Mann is talking about this after 9 o'clock. But I need your help. 08459 455 555. Why do I feel uncomfortable about the thought of police being armed with tasers? Do you feel uncomfortable? Is it making you feel a little bit uncomfortable? Or, like Glenn, who was in his car, do you think, no, it's about time. It's about time they were tooled up a little bit more. It would have had an effect on the gun crime that we've seen in Luton. It would have given those two female officers who were killed in Manchester a fighting chance. I'm not sure about either of those cases, actually. I don't know if either of those things would have worked out differently if the police had tasers. 08459 455 555. It's 9:15. I'm Iain Lee. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Cheers, Ian. Right, First Capital Connect, 45-minute delays, Stevenage to King's Cross and Welwyn Garden City to Moorgate. It's a signalling problem at Hatfield. Tickets are being taken on Greater Anglia services now. East Coast affected by this as well, with 20-minute delays, King's Cross to Peterborough. East Midlands trains have issues further up their lines, overrunning engineering works. Leicester to Market Harbour means some late-running services to and from St Pancras. On the roads, it is still very busy on the A1 at the Black Cat roundabout, on the A1M from Stopfold down towards Stevenage, junction 10 to 7, and then you've got some queues on the M1 as you go past Toddington toward Luton. A5 looking busy from Dunstable past Markyate and down toward the M1. Still some traffic on the A418 between Wing and Wingrave and down toward Aylesbury after there was an accident a bit earlier this morning near Bearton. The accident gone, but the delay's still very much there. Hertford and Ware are looking very, very slow, particularly the A414 and the A10 around there. M25, you've got delays anti-clockwise through the roadworks. There was a broken down vehicle earlier as well. And from the M1 round to the M40 is starting to look very, very slow, particularly on the approach to the M40 there at junction 16. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Thank you very much. Right, it's 8:46. It's Monday the 7th of October. Do you remember when it was June? It'll be Christmas soon. Wow. These are your headlines on BBC Three Counties Radio. Another national task force is being launched today to tackle organised crime. A leading care charity says there's a rising number of people getting home care visits lasting just 15 minutes. And Luton Borough Council says a new series of Tom Daley's Splash will help boost sports in the town. Coming up, are you happy about having Splash back? Well, I am. JD is. Trevor Holden is, I think. I couldn't quite be sure. We'll find out more. But before that, with her full allotted time, it's the weather with Kate Kinsella.
Beds, Herts and bucks weather.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
Good morning. There's a bit of mist and murk around this morning. The Met Office do have a yellow weather warning in place because visibility has been reduced quite considerably by the fog in some areas, so extra care needed throughout this morning. Eventually it will start to lift, but lift into low cloud. It is a predominantly grey day, but some brighter spells this afternoon, maybe even one or two sunny spells. A light southwesterly breeze and the temperature will rise. Another warm day, maximum of around 18 or 19 Celsius. Overnight tonight, some clear spells at first, but the cloud developing quite quickly. May get one or two spots of rain, but that means it's going to be a mild night, certainly milder than the night we just had, the minimum down to around 13 or 14 Celsius. So a great start to Tuesday morning. We have got some light patchy rain making its way south and eastwards through the course of the day, just not too much, but we will start to feel it. And again, another warm day, perhaps the last of the warmer days. We're looking at a maximum again of 18 or 19 Celsius. And that's your forecast.
Interesting. Katie Hopkins, who's a
businesswoman and a broadcaster.
Isn't it annoying when you just miss the end of something?
Those are the headlines. There's a full bulletin at 4.
You have to turn the radio off. Or there's just so many interesting things, you don't have time to listen to them all.
There's a lady here. Hello, have you got the treasure for me? Have the treasure.
I lost him when I was 11 and he certainly made a great impression on me.
Then why not use BBC iPlayer Radio?
She developed a cocaine habit that cost her over £120 a day.
You can listen again to our programmes and even see what our presenters look like.
You look like Mr. Stamper from a James Bond film.
Head to bbc.co.uk/Three Counties and make BBC Three Counties Radio unmissable.
Unmissable. And don't forget, of course, you can do that, of course. This show also has a podcast, a weekly best of podcast. You can get it by going to the BBC Three Counties website and clicking on podcasts. Or you can go to iTunes, type in Iain Lee, IAINLEE, and it pops up and you subscribe to it. More police officers in Milton Keynes today will be armed with tasers, bringing them in line with the national average of about 11% of the police force. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't know why. Lots of you seem to be in favour of it, a few of you against. 08459 455 555. Andy is an ex-police officer. Good morning, Andy.
Good morning.
Andy, what's your take on this? Should the police be armed with tasers?
I don't see a problem being armed with tasers. I mean, the batons they use are just as lethal as a taser is, but you don't have to get close to somebody. But they need to be trained properly, and in the aftermath of using one, then they need to be scrutinised properly.
Scrutinised for what? That they did it for the right purposes? That it hasn't affected them psychologically?
No, well, from the point of view of discharging one, you need to make sure that the person they discharged at, that they had a good reason to do it. You know?
We do hear stories of police officers occasionally, very, very occasionally, shooting people that in situations where they didn't necessarily need to be shot. If police have got tasers, which are not necessarily lethal, could we see more of those incidents arising?
I guess so, because I mean it's supposed to be non-lethal force. I think when a firearm's drawn, the intention is to disable somebody that's going to use lethal force against an officer or somebody the officer's trying to protect.
And you're an ex-copper, Andy. Would you have been comfortable walking around with a taser and you're strapped to your belt?
I think I would have done, yeah. I mean, I used to have the old-fashioned truncheon. Yeah. They weren't a lot of use, to be quite frank. They were only in use in a public order situation.
Right.
And the biggest problem with them was they had a strap which went round your wrist. And when you pulled it out, you didn't always have a chance to put it around your wrist. And I did have a colleague who was disarmed once. Actually had his baton taken off him, and he was battered with it. So.
Andy, listen, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed. 08459 455 555 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. And we've been talking about this all morning. Should have been a joyous embrace of a high point in television broadcasting. We got a little bogged down earlier on by people being upset and members of the council perhaps slightly avoiding a question. Although in defence, we've had someone on Facebook who said, Iain, steady on, mate, you are out of order. I'm paraphrasing here while I bring up the... let's read his direct quote. Let's do fairness to Simon Franklin. Trevor Holden did answer the question. He basically said he didn't know what plans Active Luton had in place, but the lead-in time allowed for extra planning. Give the man a break. Luton Borough Council, damned if they do, damned if they don't. Well, thank you for that, Simon. But Splash is coming back to our TV screens. More importantly, perhaps for us, it's going to be filmed in Luton. They were sniffing around, weren't they, Justin? They were sniffing around the Olympic pool. I suspect they were asking for a little bit too much cash.
Quite possibly, yeah. And of course, Luton Borough Council will not tell us how much ITV are paying them to use the Inspire Luton Sports Village. It's behind me here. It opened last year. It cost £26 million. It was paid for by the people of Luton, and some of the best facilities, certainly the best diving facilities, anywhere in the country. commentary. And the TV show itself, an average audience of 5.6 million viewers, coming live from Luton every Saturday for 8 weeks come January. You would think that's good news, but of course some people, Ian, they are paying this fee every single year, and during those 8 weeks they can't use the pool on a Friday or a Saturday. Now, when you spoke to Trevor Holden earlier on, he did avoid the question. Now, Luton Borough Council, they're in charge here. Yes, in Inspire Luton, you've got all the facilities here. Active Luton are running it on behalf of Luton Borough Council, so they should know what's going on, correct?
I would think so, and we have a while to sort these things out, in fairness to Mr Holden. But the question I was asking wasn't what will the compensation be? The question was, even simpler than that, surely these people are entitled to some form of compensation if the service they're paying for is not accessible to them.
Absolutely. I heard that earlier on. I thought it was quite interesting. A lot of people that use these facilities here won't be affected because the gym remains open. It's just the pool that they use. So on a Friday, they're setting up the studio, and on a Saturday, of course, the TV show for 8 weeks comes live from the pool. So I have been talking to a few other people this morning. A moment ago, I spoke to Dino, and this is what happened. Well, Dino, Splash is back in January. As somebody who uses that pool on a regular basis, you're going to be disrupted, and quite frankly, you're angry, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I'm not very pleased. At the end of the day, I pay a year membership, and I like to use the pool whenever I feel like it throughout the year. And if I can't use it, I'm not going to be pleased.
What are your friends saying about it?
They seem to be pretty upset, to be honest, because some of them rely on the pool as their only form of exercise.
I mean, you're essentially paying for a service that you're not getting, because you won't be able to use the pools on a Friday or a Saturday, certainly the main pool here, and you're being offered no money back whatsoever. Do you think you should be offered something back for your inconvenience?
Yes. It's not the money back. At the end of the day, we pay a year membership to use the pool throughout the year. Money back won't give us the chance to use the pool anyway. I mean, it'll be some sort of help for someone, but at the end of the day, I like to use the pool more than getting my money back. If I pay for the whole year, I like to use it anytime I want throughout the year.
We've heard from a few people that are saying that Luton Borough Council are ignoring our concerns, a bit like yours, a bit like Louise Moriarty that we spoke to. Do you think the local council here are just arrogant?
The local council is not really interested in sports. It's never been and never would be in this town.
You can't say that because this is here, so they must be interested in sports.
No. I've been in this town most of my life, and I've been a sportsman all my life, and they've never been interested in sports at all.
So what you're saying is they don't care about you, the public?
They don't care about the public, basically. That's what I say. They don't give a toss about sportsmen in this town, not just for swimming.
The views of Dino, clearly not happy. So the TV show is great, certainly puts Luton on the map, of course, but unless you're using that pool, and every Friday and Saturday for those 8 weeks in January and February of next year when they're filming, you will be kicked out for a load of Z-list celebrities.
Well, I'm thoroughly embracing it, and we'll be following this story very, very closely, and the council have got plenty of time to sort this out. I have got faith that Luton Borough Council will sort this out so that most people are happy and are reimbursed if indeed they're missing out. I've got faith.
Well, I spoke to somebody a moment ago as well who said to me, we were promised when this TV show happened before that it would not be coming back. That was a lady who goes to the pool here 5 days a week.
No, we want it back. We want it back. Well, it's a great thing to have here.
We do want the TV show back, but as somebody who uses the pool Monday to Friday, she was told this would not be coming back, and of course now it is. She's heard the news on a Friday, she can't use the pool, and she's not happy.
I saw a cracking film at the weekend, Just.
Oh, yeah, come on.
I saw that Rush about James Hunt, the racing. Have you seen it?
Do you know what? I went to the cinema the other week. I was talking to people. I didn't go in to watch the film, but everyone who came out said it was brilliant.
I'm trying to remember. What's the Nicky? What's the name of the guy that he races against? Nicky...
Oh, I'm not a big racing fan, but I know what you're talking about.
Nicky...
Not Nicky Clark, I know him.
No, Catherine. What's the name of that racing driver that James Hunt races against? That Nicky...
Not louder.
What's the name of that racing car driver that James Hunt is racing? Yeah!
Oh, I got done.
Thanks, Justin.
Cheers.
Justin dodged the bullet. Catherine Boyle stepped in front and took that bullet for JD. Well done. Thanks very much indeed. Oh, it's made me smile. Literally no one else's. 08459 455 555 is the phone number if you want to give us a call. I'm finishing now, so don't bother giving me a call. But Ollie Mann is sitting in for JVS this week. Don't worry, it'll be a cracking listen. He's talking about the tasers and asking how comfortable you feel with the police having more tasers. It's an interesting discussion. A lot of you had your say, and I know we couldn't fit some of you on this morning. So start dialing for Ollie now. 08459 455 555. You can also email jvsshow@bbc.co.uk. Right, let's get the travel news now. Here's Adam.
Travel news for beds, cards and bugs.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
On the trains, First Capital Connect, 45-minute delays, Stevenage to King's Cross, Welwyn Garden City to Moorgate. It's a signalling problem at Hatfield. Greater Anglia will take your tickets. East Coast affected by that as well, 20-minute delays, King's Cross up to Peterborough. East Midlands trains disrupted because of problems further up their lines. And that's signalling problems. Overrunning engineering works have been causing all sorts of issues. Leicester to Market Harborough, late-running trains, they're going to be running into and out of St Pancras with problems for at least the next hour or so. We've had reports of an accident, London Road in Dunstable, an accident with a bike and a car involved near the Highwayman pub. It is part blocked. Police are there now, but you're going to find congestion in the area. Looking at the speed sensors, still a lot of traffic on the A1, firstly at the Black Cat roundabout southbound, then from Stotfold along the A1M down to Stevenage, into London a bit busy as well. M25 looking better on the anti-clockwise side, but still slow going, as you come down towards the M40, which at least itself is running well. Adam Glynn, BBC Three Counties Radio.
Adam, thank you very much indeed. That's it, that's your lot. Don't forget, go and download the podcast. Iain.lee at bbc.co.uk is the email address. Till tomorrow from me, ta-ta.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.
Yeah, thanks, Iain. Good morning. I'm Ollie Mann. I'm standing in for